Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome back to another episode of the Bandicast Rumble. So these episodes are actually going to get pretty interesting because from here on out, a good chunk of the guests I'll be talking with have probably already played the beta, and this guest obviously is one of them. So for his first return, welcome back, Abdul.
First return. The original one never got uploaded because it was too long. I'm kidding. Mark was busy and he did his stuff, so now I'm here again. Yes, 14th first time.
So what happened was we had recorded an episode back when I was doing post-launch, and that was after Crash 4 released. And
actually what happened was we signed an NDA where we were not allowed to say anything for the Bandicast, so Mark here was really fucked. I'm kidding. We got a cease and desist for the Bandicast.
Oh my god, could you imagine?
I can't imagine.
Can you imagine if Toys for Bob had their own Bandicast and they're like, oh shit, hey Mark, yeah, you can't do that anymore, man.
You gotta change it. It's gonna be the Markcast.
I'll call it the Crashcast.
Even that's trademarked.
Is that really?
Yeah, Crash is trademarked by Activision.
Oh no, but I meant but Crashcast. Well, you can use it in a word. I can.
You can use it. Yeah, you can. I think you can use it, but not in an official capacity.
Yeah, I'd have to tweak the. I couldn't use the logo. I could just tweak the text to just say Crashcast, but it doesn't include the actual logo or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think Activision's that evil with stuff, unless you're profiting off of it.
I'm pretty sure I've marked every Bandicast episode as to not get monetized, so that's not what I'm after with this. Yeah, with Bandicast specifically, yeah, no, I don't think that they're monetized.
Yeah, that's neat. I mean, in the end, all these fall under fair use, so it's fair.
But yeah, no, so we had done an episode prior that never went up, and it was part of post-launch, but just with all the stuff I was doing around that time, and the fact that afterward, when I came back to that episode, there were things we said in there that were outdated at that point, so I'm like, shit. Like, to put it into perspective, I think you name-dropped Crash Community Day, like, before it happened. And so long after it happened, I had gotten back to editing that episode, and I'm like, oh shit, well now we can't put this out. Like, I can't even cut around this because it had to do with like something we were talking about, and without that context, it wouldn't have. There was just a lot of stuff like that was happening, and I'm like, shit. So we had to scrap that one entirely.
Honestly, I don't even remember what I did for Crash Community Day. If I did anything on that day, all I remember is I did a massive stream series, the same one you're doing now, but I did it for Crash 4, where I played like 23 or 24 Crash games.
It was like pretty much every single game, I think. Like handhelds and everything else.
Practically every single version of the game. If there's enough differences, where it's a completely different game. Like Titan's having 3 different console versions, and then there's the mobile 4th version.
Yeah.
The only ones I didn't really play was the mobile games. So I didn't play to Insanity 2, 3D, Nitro Kart 2, Nitro Kart 3D. Wow, it was a lot. And then I did that same exact stream series but for Sonic Frontiers. I think I played over 30 Sonic games. That one tired me out a bit, but
Jesus.
It was still fun. It was fun. Some of the games, especially the classic games, I never really got to fully play, but it was good to play, especially experiencing Adventure and Adventure 2 for the first time.
Oh man, what was that like?
I think the most Sonic game that I've ever played was Unleashed and Heroes.
Oh man.
And then there was Spyro Community Day. Then I don't know if I did anything for that. I'm not too big on Spyro, but I still play them. I've never played the Legend series, so that's something that I would want to do for Spyro stream series also, because unlike Crash and Sonic, Spyro has limited amount of games, so that's going to be beneficial for me. Too bad they're long as hell.
Well,
Freaking Sonic 06, I had to put it on 2 different streams because they were the the playthroughs for Silver and Sonic were super long.
yeah, jeez.
What else? There was another one. I forgot. Oh yeah, same one. Sonic 06. Initially, on the first stream for that, I couldn't get it to work on my PS3. So I had to resort to the 360 version that I had to buy, and that alone caused me a lot of problems downloading it because it's not available in my region of the store. So I had to go and change my region from a Microsoft account so it reflects on my Xbox 360. And then I had to VPN my router just to download from another region. I had to try so many different cities in the US just to get it to work because for some reason downloading a 360 game has 2 checks. One's the download check, and once you finish the download going to 80%, it does another check for the region. It's like, okay, if it doesn't work, download's an error. And then I have to do it all over again. I had to redo it like 3 or 4 times that night. So I sat down for an hour and a half just trying to get it to work. And then the next day, everything worked fine.
To its credit, though, in terms of Legend of Spyro, New Beginnings is the shortest of the 3 of them. So I think that one you'll be able to finish pretty quickly. Plus there are no like consistent collectibles to like that the game keeps track of. So
that I know of with Legend of Spyro, at least. Like you just have the story, the levels, and combat, and that's it. Like,
well, because if you're going for 100% stuff, I think I can't remember if Dawn has anything, but Eternal Night has like these feathers and these like other like scrolls or some shit you have to get. So that I believe counts towards percentage, but I can't confirm that. I can't remember if it actually does.
Well, for Legend of Spyro, I think I'm just gonna follow the narrative because thankfully with Spyro games, yeah, the narrative is not tied to 100% majorly.
Yeah. That's not Crash though. So welcome to like I said before.
Welcome to this. Wait, this is the Spyrocast, right? Oh crap!
No, I'm not Miharu. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but so yeah.
Yeah, you're the manly Haru.
Manharu. This is where DestinationMarc Haru. This is where these episodes will get pretty interesting because yeah, I played the beta, you played the beta, we played together a couple matches, and it was a lot of fun. So in the same way with returning guests that we were handling post-launch stuff for Crash 4, at this point, even though the full game still isn't out yet for Rumble, we have the beta to go off of. So all we're going to do, since if you've watched Abdul's previous episode, the introductory episode, which was way back, like I think you were episode like 3 or something, bro, so that was pretty nuts. That's where you can get all the information of like his least favorite game, his history, and all that stuff. We're gonna riff right now, so
going off track. I tried to type on YouTube to search for the episode. It was episode 3.
Yeah.
But what came before? I typed Bandicast Abdul and keep this segment in, but. Just don't say anything. This is what came up for me. What the hell is this?
Oh,
what is this? No. That okay?
That's hilarious. He showed me something funny in Discord.
Oh my god! and right under these 2 is the Bandicast episode of ours.
Don't know about that. That's hilarious though.
And then there's another video under that with the title "Oi." I don't know. It's just hilarious. And then the last of that research list was a video called Rupus.
Okay.
I don't know, but these are what came up when I searched it.
Search results are funny. Yeah, no, but today we're just gonna, for this episode, we're gonna riff on the Rumble beta. So really the only question I have here is how much did you enjoy the Crash Team Rumble beta, and what are your overall thoughts and opinions on the game so far, from everything we saw ever since the Game Awards to your experience with the beta?
I'll be honest, a lot of people were and are still skeptical of the game. I like it. I have around 20 hours or 21 hours, judging from the beta file that we all got. It's a new kind of Crash, That's what they want to do, and that's more than fine, I think Kaningai also mentioned in his video interview with the developers where they expected the polarizing response for everything. And then knowing the history about the game's development and how, they were trying. There was one interview where I think it was Lou Studdard mentioned something about how video game development is not as easy as everyone thinks, and, some things work, some things don't. And then you have Paul Yan in another comic book in Australia where he mentioned he was really excited for Crash's future. And so I feel like there was a bit of a disconnect during that time because I think the comic interview with Paul Yan was very late 2022 or somewhere around 2022. And then it wasn't until around June of the same year where things started being a bit apparent. And then you had in August with the whole Jess Corden Windows Central leak of Rumble, where he described it as a 4v4 brawler. So that was our first very tiny glimpse of the game. And then of course you had the GDC talk with Paul Yan back in 2021, I believe, where he went through the development and creating nostalgia basically for Crash 4. So I think that was way back then, actually, back in November of 2020, that was our very first glimpse of Wumpa League. And then that name is no longer a thing. And then they teased it again in the GDC talk with the same logo and everything.
Because
and
too,
the whole...
sorry.
Yeah?
No, all I was going to say was, because with, around that time, they were... I think they felt like they were almost ready to actually start showing the game off to the public because that's when the pinata
Exactly.
came around.
Exactly. I felt like they were kind of ready to reveal it, but I think everyone knows what happened back then with the whole Activision stuff, and it is what it is. The Call of Duty shit too. That also that was a bizarre one too, and Call of Duty. But the weird thing about that is that they were wording it as if if Toys for Bob are continuing to work on Crash 4. It's about time. It's wait, what? The game, it's a single-player game. The game's done. What do you mean? Are they working on DLC, or are they working on a new project? It wasn't until way later we found out, hey, there is another project called Project Lava. Yeah. And so, okay, that's where everything came in. And then the whole timeline thing got leaked, and everything went into chaos. And some people, even today on Reddit, for whatever reason, think that, there was no Project Lava. There was one stupid post on Reddit saying, oh yeah, there was never any Project Lava. Meanwhile, the timeline that was leaked for both projects, Quantum and Lava, were very different, even goes back all the way to 2019. It's okay. I mean, you think what you want to think, but then the whole thing's there by the leaks themselves.
Yeah.
So, coming to... Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, COVID also I think played a big part in since we now know they were both worked on it around the same time. If Rumble wasn't first, then I think COVID also kind of
did Rumble? Did we work on Rumble first or Crash 4 first? To be honest, we don't even know anymore.
That is something. No, I was gonna say that too. I was gonna say I think it's really silly in the best way. It's kind of double edged, but I think it's pretty.
It's pretty sussy-wussy.
I think it's something to be respected that they can have fun with how they know that we content creators do make videos on this stuff, and that we go, all right guys, we're doing our detective sleuthing and whatever, and there's these timelines, and there's this, and there's Wumpa League, and it's this, and he showed off this picture, and so is saying that they saw this or heard this through the grapevine. And there was one thing too, I don't know if I forgot what hint it was. I think literally one of them said there are no coincidences, and I'm like,
oh, there are.
I'm like, you guys, it was was Crash Team Rumble leaked? There are no coincidences, and I'm like, oh, you fucking guys, you know exactly what you're doing, you know exactly what you're doing.
Oh no, wait, no, it wasn't leaked. I think it said something along the lines of Crash Team Rumble was the worst kept secret at Toys for Bob.
Yeah, there are no coincidences though. That's what they said after that.
It's just, I love it when developers try to poke fun even at themselves, but like I think even they should be known. They should know by now that this whole thing dragged on for a bit too long.
I mean, I'm sure they did. And the one thing I think that would be cool to see in the future, once the game actually comes out, if they're able, one, to talk about it, and two, how much they can disclose.
Another GDC talk, basically.
It disclosed, yeah, like what happened with the development, or maybe that's for one of us to do a documentary on, or like a deep dive into. Who knows? But that would definitely be something, like, to finally get to talk to Lou or Paul or anyone else, to be like, hey, so like, what is the definitive timeline and how much can you say about that? You know what I mean? I think
pretty much.
That'd be interesting for sure. But,
I feel like that would have its own time eventually, where, you know how all these different artists are just now, even recently, sharing their own work on Crash 4? I feel like obviously there's an NDA to how much they can share up to a certain point, but like to give their own involvement, even that has its own NDA. But how much you want to say about a project, it's like that alone requires a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of things where you have to write down what you want to say, what you shouldn't say. And even during the whole COVID nonsense with GDC, everything was clearly online at that point, so it was a bit it was a bit hard to just make a recording and say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So I think at that point it would have to be a recording, because when Crash 4 was revealed, it was literally a recording.
That's true.
So when it comes to now Rumble, during its leakage, everyone was still skeptical. It's like, oh, what could this be? New Crash game? Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm not excited. It's like, okay, we can go back all the way to the beginning. Who was the beginning? It was not Kenny and Guy A. It was not Liam Robertson. It was not Reddit. It was not 4chan. Nobody. It was Gaming Revolution. He leaked everything, including the Call of Duty stuff, and all of them came true. PvP Crash game, Wrath of Cortex remaster that he instead corrected to a brand new Crash 4, Crash mobile game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remastered, that turned out to be campaign remastered, Call of Duty 2020, that I think got leaked also, because for some reason they switched up their whole marketing thing with Call of Duty. Instead of revealing the game earlier in the year before summer, now they're revealing it in August or September or some shit, or July even. It's like, what happened? So there was that, and the only thing that hasn't been revealed yet from that whole leakage alone was Spyro, a brand new Spyro game. Yeah. So that's still yet to be seen or known. And now seeing all these leaks and 25th anniversary stuff by TFB and the leaks by some others in the community, it's like, okay, you know, Spyro's something may be happening with Spyro, but now coming back to Crash, it's like, who leaked the PvP game? It was Liam, or no, it wasn't Liam. I'm
you
mixing
just said.
up. It was Gaming Revolution. So
it was really funny.
So it was just so weird that people are now like being polarized. It's like, oh my god, it's multiplayer, it's this, they're gonna put microtransaction. Of course it's a multiplayer game, what do you expect? Oh my god, they're gonna put a battle pass. Every game has a battle pass, depends on how you do it.
Yeah, I remember back when I saw that list, and I'm like, a PvP game, I'm like, what would that even, because that was
what would that even be like?
Yeah, that was the main question. Even when the fucking Game Awards trailer dropped and we were watching the fucking footage, people were still like, okay, awesome, what do you do?
Yeah what do you do?
And I think so that's why, coming back to right now, how we just played the beta a couple weeks ago, I think it was,
I'll be honest, sorry to cut you, I'll be honest, I feel like from that question, some people are intentionally making themselves really freaking stupid just to bitch about the game. I'm sorry, that's the way I perceived it. That's why I perceive it. You know, it's like,
welcome to the Crash series.
Yeah, you've seen the game. IGN covered it. Kenny and Guy covered it, and then I played it early. Are like, oh yeah, why are they putting content creators and having them do all the coverage? Why aren't you doing the coverage? It's like, okay, that's a good question. Why aren't they doing? So they do the coverage. And they're doing it.
Well,
they did it.
Yeah, so they were doing coverage because Lou and them have their little video series that they've been posting on Twitter. But the problem, I wouldn't say problem. I guess what people were perceiving as a problem when trying to discern what this game was is that when Toys for Bob and the official Crash stuff were trying in their, we're trying to sell you the game kind of way, play as Crash and his wacky cast of friends, they would say this blanket statement of collect Wumpa, bring it back to your base. And that does cover what the main mode that we've been playing and what we've seen is. But
basically, yeah.
People still weren't really getting it at first. So when they themselves tried at first to advertise it, it was still a little confusing for some reason to people. But then when CG and I went to that Activision event and played it, and with all the other people that there were like Tumblr people and TikTok people that were there, we all played it on March 30th. And the NDA that we signed there, I'm sure I can say, just was for other shit. Like, if you happen to see other shit around the studio, don't talk about it, of course. But for Crash itself, everything, we just couldn't show the menus in our footage. But those menus you guys saw in the beta anyways. We couldn't show that off early. Other than that, everything else for what we did there was pretty much good to go. We could take pictures with people and of the Crash suit guy was there and all that stuff, but the point of that event, my main point is that I think it was cool for us to be able to talk to everyone on YouTube, on Twitter, TikTok, Tumblr, wherever, Facebook, so that way, hey, this is our first-hand experience. And now we understand what the game is like. So here's us telling you, like, I made a first impressions video. I'm like, all right, I played it. Here's my footage that you're watching right now. This is what the game is like in action. And this is what you do. And this is what... And even then, for that March event, since it was our very first time playing, there was a lot we didn't understand yet in terms of how crazy the game can really... get in terms of character control and whatnot. But then by the time the beta dropped, we had way more time to mess with the game. So we found a lot of stuff you can do, stuff you can break, characters that might feel a little, which we'll get into, you and I in a minute. But, we had a lot more time to be able to actually, and play with friends, not just other people that we didn't really know or whatever. So now everyone seems to be getting a much better picture of what the game, at least for the basic base stuff, is going to be for the most part right now. I think it was weird because it's such a unique concept for not just Crash, but like a game like this to exist. I guess Toys for Bob are just finding it a little difficult to describe it because they don't even have like a genre name for it. All they're saying is it's not a MOBA. And they're trying to figure out... So I made that whole SMAP thing, and you made fun of it, and everyone else was making fun of it. But, I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to spitball as well. Like, I want to help, try to come up with a cute little name for it. But, like...
Honestly, keeping it short, I feel like, I've said, I think I've mentioned it as well, just keeping it short for a genre name, it's just an arena platformer.
I mean, yeah.
Instead of, trying to make an entirely new term that would twist your tongue, it's like online multiplayer platformer position arena. It's
to put an acronym to it, yeah.
Basically putting an acronym, yeah. So I feel like arena platformer kind of justifies it. But instead of what people... I don't get how people are seeing it as a MOBA. It's like, oh, but it has MOBA elements. Every single other game has MOBA elements. Just because you have health and a resource bar doesn't make it a MOBA. And besides that, there are no resource bars. You could literally use Tana's hookshot and spin infinitely with Crash however you like. There is no resource bar. You don't lose mana or energy or anything.
Yeah.
I even did both of my discussion videos, or sorry, the second one of mine, where I tried to compare it to League, because I've played League ever since like around middle school or high school, and that was like almost 10 years ago by now. Mm-hmm. And I've given every single notion and element that basically describes a MOBA, what makes a MOBA, because you already have 3 main games that define the genre. Basically, it's not Paragon, it's not other games. No, you straight up a full-on traditional MOBA. That's what those games define that genre. It's League, Smite, and Dota. Every single one of them have a jungle, have objectives on the map, super objectives on the map, to be specific. You have a jungle where you have jungle monsters to farm. You don't go into lane and fight against an actual player. You fight against AI in the jungle. You don't have objectives to, like, take over temporarily and then wait for the other team to contest it. You don't have any of that in League. Not anymore, at least, because there was a map called Crystal's Scar, where it was basically a 5-way domination, where you had to take over these specific pillars to basically take down the enemy's crystal, hence the name Crystal Scar. And it was on a completely different map. And I even gave that comparison, you know. I even gave the itemization, the turrets, the inhibitors or phoenixes that are in Smite. I don't know what they're called in Dota, but it's basically the same genre. You know, same concept, different names. All of these, minion farming, gold, itemization, building, late game, none of these exist in Rumble. So when you have games like Overwatch or Splatoon, you have health, you have things to worry about. Like, I mean,
because I was in my comparisons to what Rumble could best be compared to, I was going even simpler. Fucking Rayman Arena, dude. Like that.
A Rayman Arena is like the closest comparison you could possibly do.
And it wasn't technically advanced, of course. It was fucking made in like 03 or 04 or some shit. So like, you know, but it was still really fun in the sense that you're on foot, you're running around, you got 4 players. And you're shooting shit at each other. You got 4 players,
you have arenas to take care of, you have power-ups that spawn in, unironically, the relic stations.
Yeah, and there are different game modes like Capture the Fly or whatever, and there's like these other ones like Get Lums, like the first one to like 5 Lums, and they just appear randomly on the map and whatever. So stuff like that.
While trying to fight off others.
Yeah. So like Rumble is very much more like that. Yeah, in terms of banking something into a specific area and then like going to that bank and then going back out and then going back to the bank. Yeah, Splatoon Salmon Run is very much the next comparison I made. A lot of people were making that comparison.
What's funny with that, it's like, oh yeah, you just go around the same exact circle, you collect the same exact wumpas, you go back to your bank, you score. It's like, okay, yes, that's the easy concept. You can do that. Or you can go and risk yourself, either getting killed, knocked out, fall off, or contest gem platforms, or actually get extra power-ups that will help you to not only score, but also deny the enemy from getting these bonuses that may also help you.
And that's what the classes
you can either go the easy way or the completely risky way. Yeah. It's totally up to you. And then people have the audacity to say, oh, this game's too easy. You just do the same thing. It's like, yeah, you're choosing to do the easy thing, not the difficult thing.
Yeah, I mean that's where you talk to. And if you're playing,
it's the exact same thing. Sorry, it's the exact same thing with CTR, Nitro Fueled, or original Crash Team Racing, or Nitro Kart, or even Bash to a degree. You have an easy way, or you can choose the hard way. You have an easy way within Crash Team Racing or the racing games. Yeah. You just hold X and go and turn, and that's it. That's the race. Nitro Fuel has an easier mode, just so for the journalists to play without having their brains blown off. And then you have the time trials, or not even time trials, even in adventure mode. You can either do it the really easy, simplistic, brainless way, where you just press one button and go, or you can do it the very difficult way that the game tries to teach you with power sliding. It's totally up to you as a player. It's not that different here.
I mean, yeah, but and even as far as online games go, and again, we don't have too many Crash ones, just really Nitro Fueled to compare this to with Rumble, but
it's not even that. It's just as in general, like multiplayer enabled games. It doesn't need to be online to be multiplayer.
Well, no, but the point I was going to make right now, because it very
for
much
online multiplayer,
online multiplayer is what I was going to get at. I understand, what you're coming from with offline, but with online, since that's the big push right now, especially for Rumble, is playing single player online for Rumble is a little that's where it's still doable, of course, but
it's doable, but it's a bit alarming and weird because you could just move you could literally just move the online requirement where you try to open up the game after the title screen. It's like you could just move that, like copy it to competitive and private, just do it.
I feel what people are probably saying, if anyone's still saying, okay, yeah, this game's too boring and too simplistic and by the numbers, that you're just doing the same shit over and over again, they're probably playing single player competitive when you should be in a lobby with friends because then you can talk, you can communicate, you can do different strategies. You are, at that point, kind of forced to take on different roles, sometimes multiple roles at once. And that's all depending on, like, where you are at any given moment versus your team versus the opposing team versus where your bank is versus if the map you're playing on has a bonus bank or not, or what other extra shit they do have that you can go unlock if you've got the relics. Are you collecting relics? Is that your main goal? Are you a booster? Well, then there you go. But like I was saying too in many of my videos, like, anyone can do, and any character can do any job, but you should be splitting the work across everyone, especially to who you pick, versus like in Nitro Field where it kind of almost doesn't really matter who you pick when you're racing. It most definitely matters because there are these very specific classes for the type of game you're playing in Rumble. Who you pick does matter.
Well, I disagree, because like you can be a booster with Dingo Dial or a scorer with female entropy, which is confirmed to be a blocker.
Yeah.
And Brio, like you can play those other roles as a blocker. It's just you're not going to have the benefits of the blocker. It's the same thing with boosters, with Cortex and Coco, for example. You want to be a scorer with them, you can do that, but you're not going to be like taking advantage of the booster class that those characters are in. And it's the same thing with scores with Tana and Crash. You can probably be a complete nuisance, like a pseudo blocker, basically.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have the benefits of being a tank as an actual blocker.
Yeah. And
but
you
can do those other roles.
That also depends too if you're working with other people to do that role. Like usually I don't see a singular Crash or Coco playing blocker, but sometimes there's like 2 or 3 of them that do for like a while. Just to make sure that they defend their shit, or they're trying to overtake your stuff and trying to sabotage you.
I've seen Dan defend his bank and the gem platforms just by
trust me, Coco v Coco, yeah. If you're talking about yeah. So there's that. What was the point I was going to make though? No, what I meant to by your character matters too. Because of their
roles matter.
Well, yeah, but their specific abilities too. Like Coco obviously doesn't play the same as Cortex. Crash and Tana don't play the same at all either. So like depending on, because Tana has mobility in a different way than Crash does, and Crash has certain things that Tana can't do, and vice versa. And it's going to be the same that's what's going to make every character interesting in their own right to play as. It's not going to be the same experience with any one character within the same class. So like
pretty much, yeah, because you also have something very unique with Brio, for example, where he has 2 forms.
Yeah. With
his Hulk form and his normal form. We don't even know how that's going to work. We don't even know if entropy is going to work the same way or not.
Yeah.
We have not platformed with these characters ever. This is going to be the first game where we're properly going to do that.
That's what makes it interesting.
The closest way we've platformed with Crunch, for example, is him T-posing in Wrath of Cortex and someone just modding it in.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, I feel. It depends, too, on the other characters that come in, too, from the server.
Yeah, I think... And this is where the nostalgia trip on my head really pisses me off too. It's like coming from Nitro Fueled, going to Crash 4, and now Rumble. People, for whatever reason, expect every single character in the franchise to come to this game. Oh, bring Willy Wonka Cheeks is like, okay, sure. This game's entirely about Wumpa collecting. It makes sense, okay. But then you have very, very obscure characters. It's like, oh, bring Yaya Panda, bring what's his name? I forgot his name. The stupid farmer from Twinsanity.
Farmer Ernest.
Farmer Ernest, yeah. Bring Tikimon. Bring the evil twins. Bring this. Bring that. Yeah, like, okay, you can't expect that. You're dealing with balance. You can have some degree of chaos, but not the entire game should be centered around just chaos. You need some strategic chaos, rather than just mindless chaos. You can have mindless chaos if you, for some reason, pick 4 entropies or some shit.
I mean, this game's going to be really, I think, trickier to
It's going to be tricky to balance, because I think what they want to focus on is strategic chaos rather than just introducing every character from Nitro Fueled into this game. You're not going to have 4 of the Nitro Squad in the same role, for example.
I mean, yeah.
You could probably have like either Amy or Megumi, because those were the 2 most popular ones in the game. Like you could have them both like be in the game. Maybe one as a skin, or you could either have Megumi with an Amy skin or Amy with a Megumi. Who we don't know. We really don't know. And then there was that survey that they recently put out for the game.
Yeah, well, because with that survey, yeah, I don't feel like every character is going to make it in, but I think why they chose to show some of those obscure characters was, I think, for the sake of not everyone's probably going to show up, like all of these characters, like the way how Nitroville just kept surprising us. But I think what they're trying to do is be like, well, we're going to still do variety, and we're still going to, kind of
I feel
reach
like
down
they want
into those characters.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to show up, I don't think.
Yeah, obviously not everyone's going to show up. It'd be a miracle if that was a thing. But no. I feel like what they want to do is represent every single Crash game to a degree with at least one addition. So, for example, Crash 1, 2, and 3, what was unique about them? What did they have? What did they not have? In the first game, you have Koala Kong and Pinstripe and Papu. We don't know if Papu's going to come in, but it's very likely that he may come in because of some recent stuff with the leaf, the pineapple, and whatnot.
Pineapple and everything. Yeah.
Crash 2 has what? Engine. That's a likely thing. Crash 3 has Entropy.
Komodo Bros. Komodo Bros Crash 2.
And Komodo Bros, yeah, those two. They can be intertwined the same way Brio has two forms. Big Norm has the Norms have two forms, so they're trying to do something different with this, where, I think that's where also the MOBA thing comes in, because League does something similar to a degree, where a character has a human form and then has another form where they transform into an animal or an insect or whatever, or a bug. So it's like they have unique abilities in those forms. So it's like I get where they're going with this. And then you go into CTR with Oxide. Oxide's just a what's his name? A power up in Calamity Canyon. And then you have Bash, which has Rillaroo. And then you have Wrath of Cortex being the elementals, and Crunch and Nina, back to back, with Wrath of Cortex into Insanity. Those are two of the most highly requested characters as of Crash 4. So there's no reason those two won't come in, because a lot of people are requesting them, including Reddit, Twitter, you name it. Everyone's requesting them. You have Huge Adventure with Mega Mix, Entrance with Entrance, obviously, Nitro Car with Velo, and Titans, and I don't know what would they bring from Titans and Minor Mutant. Maybe some of the Titans, maybe they could make that work.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what they want to do, and I feel like that's actually smart on their part. Yeah. Spyro, even with Ripto and Spyro.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I don't know how a playable Allura would work, but
yeah, you showed me the funny thing before we started recording.
Yeah,
I think the potential for character selection for who's going to end up in the game as we go through and as we go along, because we don't even know if these 8 are just going to be the base roster, or if they're going to be a few more characters, like secret unlockables, the same way we had like our base 8 characters in the original CTR, but then all the bosses were unlockable and other stuff like that. And then you got Penta as a secret character, and Entropy as a secret character. So like they might even do that at launch. We don't even know.
The thing is, the funny part is with that, Pollyann, I've watched an Xbox stream, or I think it was an Xbox ambassador playing with the developers, it was Dan as one of the developers. He had Pollyann and Lou in the back just watching them play, because they were at the office playing with the Xbox ambassadors. So I was watching the whole thing, and the entire chat was actually really liking the game. They wanted to get into the beta, and obviously on Xbox you have the whole like rewards program that kind of gives you the beta code already. They give you access to the beta. So that's actually a good thing that they did on that front. But after they were done playing, you had Pollyann and Lou, I believe. Or no, it was Dan, where they kind of semi-confirmed where, like, there's a lot more stuff that we haven't shown yet, or something along the lines. And that, for me, goes back to that timeline, that project timeline that was leaked before. It showcased something around 16 characters at launch and 12 maps or something. And right now we know of just 6 maps instead of 3, because the 3 that we played was in the beta, and then there's another 3 that we haven't even seen or like remotely had gameplay of just yet. You have the Insanity Peak one, you have the Snacks one, and you have the Sewer one. The Sewer and Snacks one were shown during the reveal where Crash was trying to call Tana or Cortex or whoever before the reveal trailer came in.
Yeah.
So you had these little thumbnail screenshots being shown in the widescreen in the theater. And so it's like, okay, you know, we have 6 maps, kind of. You know, we played 3 of them. There are a lot more power-ups for some reason that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
There's the TNT power-up that was recently shown or leaked or revealed. I don't know exactly.
I saw it.
And you have the Insanity, and you have the Insanity Peak one being in the closed beta trailer. So it's like, to me, that's like, it kind of gives like a door to what to expect.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we know for sure this is not a free-to-play game at the beginning anyway. This is another thing that I want to get into. People, for some reason, think that this game was supposed to be free-to-play. And like, you know, they have a valid like complaint on that. It's like, oh, this is just Crash 4, you know, it should have been free-to-play. It's like, you know, if this was CTR 2, if this was Crash Team, if this was Nitro Fuel 2, let's say, people are still going to say the exact same thing. Oh, this should have been DLC for Crash 4. It's like, you guys did not even say that whatsoever for Nitro Fuel. Why are you saying that now? It's like, oh, it's just another platforming game. It's like, yeah, but you're not just doing platforming. This is not a linear game now. You're not going from the start of the level to the end of the level. This is an entirely different setting.
It's just the fact. I mean, Rumble is so different. And see, that's the thing that people just didn't know. They were like, okay, well, obviously they're going to recycle assets and whatnot and whatever. And it's the same developer, so obviously they've got everything ready from Crash 4 to...
A lot of games recycle assets. Sure. You know the funny part? Insane also has some recycled stuff because you have jungle levels, you have stream levels, you have ice levels. It's like, these are recycled stuff too.
Well, especially because a lot of stuff was very familiar from how they did it in Imaginators, and a lot of Imaginators shit was used as placeholder assets when they were building Insane, and we saw that in that video that I uploaded. But no,
with the GBA music.
Yeah, which was an awesome touch. But with Rumble, now that we know and we see it and all that, it is so different from Crash 4 that there's no way you can mistake it for Crash 4. There's no way. It might look kind of the same. It reuses themes and assets and stuff again from Crash 4, but obviously, yeah, how that's a very common practice. It's a completely different game.
Yeah, it's not like I don't know why some are trying to like paint this as if it's a bad thing or it's like the end of the world. It's like one of your favorite games that you mentioned, Call of Duty, are reusing assets. It's the same game. It's the same exact game. Before 2019's COD, you know, you had something new. It's like, okay, this is a brand new take on COD. For some reason, they're going with realism with Modern Warfare, and then you go and follow up with the next games over the years. It's like, okay, this is just the same, literally the same exact game. They're trying to unify the engine. They're trying to force another developer on their own circle, Treyarch, to use that same exact engine, ditching their own engine that they're familiar with, working on this engine, and so you're just going to have the same exact feeling for the game. It's like there's no uniqueness to the game anymore.
Welcome to what I've been saying about COD for like ever now. And it's just so they can keep up with the weird thing. Too.
Yeah, the weird thing with Call of Duty is, like, before they were actually trying different stuff. Like, yes, you have the same basic shooting mechanics and whatnot, but like between an Infinity Ward game, a Sledgehammer game, and a Treyarch game, it felt different enough where you were able to recognize what kind of game it was. Now it's just the same, literally the same exact thing. And now it doesn't even seem like they care about multiplayer anymore. Call of Duty multiplayer, they just care about Warzone. You know the funny part? There's a bit of a rumor. I think it's kind of pseudo confirmed at this point, because what else could it be? Where like they didn't think Warzone would explode so much in popularity, and so you had a lot of content in 2019's COD, and then coming later in the years, it's like, oh wow, Warzone's blown up. We might as well just make a Warzone 2 because, you know, we have to make an entirely new game to accommodate for a battle royale kind of game. And so they did that, and they basically took everything that was good about the first game and it doesn't exist in the second game. So now they're reverting everything back because of the backlash. So coming back to Rumble, it's like I watched a recent review in quotations, if you want to consider it a review. I don't want to name the person because, you know, a friend of mine also mentioned how they act, how their history is when it comes to their personality and whatnot. And, you know, kudos to them also for letting me know. But the whole review, quote unquote, after having played an hour and a half of the beta, supposedly, I have a notepad of what they basically said in the entire review process, if you want to call it a review. So what they mentioned, basically, this is like a one-page list, so it should be decently fast. So what they mentioned is they played 1.5 hours of the game. They saw the game as challenging, or like too challenging of a game to be critical about. Let me rephrase that. They saw the game as if, like, you know, it's not enough to challenge it, or like you don't have enough to be critical about it, basically. They also mentioned that Toys for Bob is one of the best developers out there. The game is fluid and great. The Crash universe is amazing and great. The game is fun. You know, even if it's free to play, the competition is, and I quote, too freaking fierce. And it's like, okay, when I read that, it's like, okay, what do you mean by competition? He does not go into any detail in the video, or at least not from what I remember, at least. And then he goes on to mention it's like you have too many of these games that, you know, that try to be multiplayer and this and that. It's like, okay, sure, that's multiplayer, but, you know, multiplayer is distinct. You know, you have different kinds of feelings of multiplayer. You have a racing game that's multiplayer, you have a platforming game that's multiplayer, you have a shooting game that's multiplayer, you have a brawler with Super Smash Bros. That's a multiplayer. It's like you have different tastes of multiplayer. And so he challenged this game and was critical about it because, oh, it's just another take on multiplayer. It's like, sure, okay, but
well,
you played
a multiplayer game.
You played a multiplayer game, but then later in the video, you said you would rather play Disney Speedstorm or Call of Duty because oh yeah, those provide the easy part for me, or those are good enough for me. It's like,
so he's saying, oh, I don't like PvP. I'll play racing games instead.
I'll continue. I'll get to Disney Speedstorm especially too, because I just watched IGN's review of the game yesterday for the whole early access thing, and mind you, Disney Speedstorm's early access is $30. You're paying $30 for a free-to-play game to access a free-to-play game, and that mind boggles me because I've said it from the beginning of the year. I've said it from before Rumble's reveal also. Because we were only going with the whole project timeline thing initially because it was leaked. The leakage suggested that Rumble might be free to play, and now it has a price tag. It has the consideration to become free to play in the future, just like how Fall Guys and I think PUBG also became free to play. I'll continue. The game, he says the game is fun, even if the game is free to play. The competition is too fucking fierce. He complains about how things were back then with 4-player local multiplayer. He would have preferred this game to be local multiplayer. You know, with a story mode and everything. It's like, okay, sure, you know, that's a valid thing. I don't think he even mentioned a story mode or anything. He just didn't like the game because it's not local multiplayer. It's like, what? Okay. And then he goes on to say that it would have made sense to be a multiplayer mode attached to Crash 4. It's like, okay, sure, that's one valid thing. But at the same time, you could have said that with Crash Team Racing also. That could have originally, sure, because it was a bit of a different thing, because limited technology way back then, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a different style of a game because you had very, very low polygons, and they had to accommodate for stuff with the tracks and maps and selection and overworlds and everything way back then. With Insane, you know, it's the same layout, it's the same art style. You know, it could have been DLC for Insane Trilogy, but no, it's not. It's a new game, $40. Nobody complained. Oh, because it's fun. It's the original. It's the original game, but remade. It's $40. And then when you realize you also paid $40 for 3 games being remade, it's like, okay, sure, it's 3 games, right? But at the same time, those 3 games are different enough that they also reuse assets between games. Obviously, because that's just how development works. And then you have CTR with Nitro Fuel. It literally reuses assets from Insane. 100% of Insane. But it also adds its own things. So if you're to combine that price, you basically spent $80 on 2 games, essentially. $80. Well, and then you have Rumble here. It's like, okay, it's $60. Okay, and then you have Rumble being $30. It's not even a fully priced game. And then you have the PC version of Crash 4 and the Switch version. It's like, okay, it's $40. So whichever version you get, you're either going to be spending $70 or $90. It's like, okay, sure, you know. But at the same time, these are new flavors of the games, of the franchise. These are not reuses to like the extent that Insane did. Yeah. It's just really weird on how this came out.
What I also don't understand about that argument is the fact that whether you're
the funny part, the very next, sorry to cut you, but you know the very funny part about this, the very next point is that he really liked Crash 4. Crash 4 is the, and I quote, delightful fucking game and best Crash game ever made from the same developer.
Okay. But what I think is happening here, which again doesn't make sense in its own right, is whether you go with the OGs, Trilogy, NCTR, or Insane and Nitro Field, that very concept wouldn't really make sense to tack on. From my perspective, to tack like CTR as a game, if someone would be like, well, why is this a racing game? This could have just been like DLC for, or rather at the time, like this could have been an extra add-on to like a second disc to the original games or whatever, or DLC for Insane. But CTR as a spin-off is so fundamentally different from the original games, which are platformers. And here, I guess what's making people say that about Rumble versus Crash 4 is not only do they look the exact same for what it's worth, but like the type of spin-off that it is still has to do with platforming. So I guess
that's the weird part.
I guess
like before I continue these points, it's like what makes Crash good is precision platforming, Wumpa collecting, gem or relic hunting. Like you're finding these different combinations, these different secrets, these new bonuses that you can make use or abuse even. All they did is that they took these core concepts of Crash and they spun it into a multiplayer format.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's the same way with CTR as well. It's like,
well, yeah.
you have a kart racer. They took the Crash fundamentals and they spun it into a kart racer. Here they spun it into an actual multiplayer game that you fight against other players for or against. It's like you're contesting stuff that are basically Crash fundamentals. I bumped my mic a bit. Oops.
But
So it's like, what is there to complain about? These are core Crash things that makes the series good in the first place. Why are you complaining about it if it's core Crash platforming?
Because people are trying to find shit to complain about nowadays. Again, welcome to the Crash series.
It's one thing. There are very few valid complaints about it. Is like, sure, you have people that are not into multiplayer games to begin with. No, people don't like multiplayer, or it's not my cup of tea, or it's this, it's that. Some people are not going to buy it because it has a fucking battle pass. I am not joking. You can literally ignore the battle pass to your heart's content. You are still going to 100% experience all the things, all the unique stuff the game has to offer. Because they themselves also confirmed that they're not going to lock characters or powers behind the freaking battle pass. Yeah. We don't know if there's going to be earnable currency, but you're either going to earn them that way or you earn the currency to get them faster. We don't know. All we know is that you're able to earn them without being tied to the battle pass. They confirmed that directly. It's the same stupid nonsense that they did with the whole Wumpa coin nonsense back then, because they never outright said that Wumpa coins or microtransactions are not going to be in the game. No, you had a shop, you had an in-game shop. Expect it. Okay, it has an online, mode. You're playing against others in a multiplayer format. Expect microtransactions. And then what do people do? They bitch about it anyway. It's like, of course, you have a currency system in the game. What do you think? In this game, it's like, this is now with Rumble, it's a multiplayer game. Expect microtransactions. It's a multiplayer game. Don't think they're not going to put it. They will. 100% will. It's Activision. We can't say much about it.
The funny thing, the part that would be amazing is if they trusted Toys for Bob enough to not try to put that stuff in. Not that they didn't trust to be honest with anything, but I think because Lou went out of his way, and it was probably in the script to say during the State of Play, one of the State of Play reveals for Crash 4, that the skins weren't going to be under locked behind microtransactions. They made it a point to say that, so it would be amazing. But yeah, for the type of game it is, they'll probably still do it. But it would be amazing if we didn't see any microtransactions in Rumble. But yeah, for what you're saying,
of course, it would be like a miracle. It would be a complete miracle if there was no MTX in the game. If there is, and there will be, 1,000%, not 100%, 1,000% guaranteed there will be MTX. It's whatever, right? It's a multiplayer game, whatever. But as long as they don't make it heavily intrusive, because we're still paying for the product. The funny part, and I'll get into Disney Speedstorm now. The very funny part, the same reviewer that reviewed this game I'll retract a bit. Let me continue with the points. So after he said that Crash 4 is the best Crash game ever made by the same developer, he says that he doesn't think the game will fit in the, and I quote, current competitive market, and thinks it is misguided because it's charging for it. The most ironic thing about this? Dead by Daylight is almost $30 and it's going for 7 years in. with a battle pass, mind you. And even in the survey of Rumble, they don't know what to make of the battle pass, because this is the very first time. This is their very first multiplayer Crash game, or their very first multiplayer game by TFB. They worked on Overwatch. They worked on Call of Duty. They helped some cases with Nitro Fueled. They have experience on how or what makes a multiplayer game fun, and what makes it, not basically waste your time, essentially. Like, you're not gonna just mindlessly grind and be tired out. You want the game to take your time seriously. You don't want the game to just force you to grind for something that you may not want, right? You want to grind, but not to the point of being tired out, basically. So he thinks that, and this is just funny, because a lot of the multiplayer games today are free to play, right? You had Fall Guys that initially charged for itself, and eventually, when Epic bought the rights to the game and developer, it eventually went free to play. But what comes with that free to play aspect? Microtransactions. Not earnable stuff. No, you have to open up your stupid wallet, that you worked so hard from work, and you pay for stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they have to make money off the game somehow.
Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was like, yeah, because then they still have to make money off the game somehow.
Yeah, you'd still have to make money off the game somehow, because it's a free-to-play game. And when it comes to a free-to-play game, I don't know why, but only Fortnite has managed to do this, because of how big it is, I suppose. You're able to earn the premium currency in the battle pass, as well as doing some missions that also give you the premium currency, V-Bucks, right? So Fortnite is the only game, I don't know why, but it's the only game where they allow you, in a free-to-play game, to have you be able to earn the premium currency in the battle pass. The battle pass itself covers for the next battle pass with the premium currency. So you essentially buy it once, and then you just keep earning that premium currency, grind out the battle pass, or doing other missions that give you more of the premium currency, and then it covers you into the next one and beyond. So it's literally a vanilla free to play game. It's like you pay once for it, and then you just immediately play it for free if you want to really get invested into it. That's a free to play game. Literally every other free to play game, it's like, okay, you have this currency, you have this premium currency, you have this multiplayer currency, you have the single player currency, you have that gem shard currency that you also have to unlock, you have unique character currency, you have this, what I'm explaining right now? Disney Speedstorm. It has over 5 different fucking currencies in the game. In a kid's game, in a kid's kart racer game. If you, after this, podcast, I'm gonna link you to the Disney Speedstorm early access review IGN covered yesterday, or I think it was 3 days ago. But what I got is that, there's a very small selection of tracks and characters, and while it's fun, it is very quickly tiresome. Like, it gets old super fast. At the same time, it's like I think it plays like Mario Kart or Tag Team Racing. It doesn't have the whole power slide thing. It just has that, your basic average racer boosting, that other kart racers do, like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So it has that. And then with the whole it has a battle pass also. It's a closed early access game that you have to pay for $30, for an unfinished game. An unfinished free-to-play game, mind you. You pay to actually freaking play it, and it has over 5 different currencies. I don't even think it's 5 currencies. They're probably gonna have more, probably 10 different currencies in the game. Sometimes characters cost this currency, sometimes that skin costs that currency. Oh, what's that? A cosmetic? Oh, a loot box? I don't know if there are loot boxes in Disney Speedstorm, but they might as well just put it in because there's over 5 different fucking currencies in the game. A kid's game. Mark. A kid's game.
It is.
How do you? It is so. When IGN covered it, when the writer in IGN covered it on the video, I was so fucking confused. It's like, what is this?
That's weird because I was looking very much forward to playing Speedstorm. I think I'm just gonna wait.
You can still have fun. You can probably still 100% as a free to play game, but when it comes to the whole monetization system. As a free-to-play game, what the fuck are you building?
No, because it's getting egregious, like, year after year.
Oh, Mark, you thought Candy Crush was egregious. Play fucking Disney Speedstorm.
No, because I just had, you're explaining all this, and I had, like, these, what would even be the opposite of PTSD, because it's not even traumatic, but I had these, like, really nice flashbacks to, like...
PTSD, more like FTSD, free TSD.
I was gonna say, no, but I had these flashbacks to freaking, like, Melee, where, you get coins when you win matches and shit, but then, like, because it's a game from 2001 or whatever, and of course none of this stuff existed yet, even still, you just had the one currency, which was just coins, and you could unlock some stuff that way. Everything else was unlocked through playing the game, and through missions in the multiplayer modes and other single-player modes, and... The fact that we kind of just ditched that and are doing this now is insane to me.
You know what's really sad? A paid game will not give you that. A paid game is not going to give you that. Maybe the paid game may have a battle pass. Rumbles is confirmed to have a battle pass. We don't know if it's going to be $5 or $10. It could be $5 because a friend of mine informed me that you have the standard edition that's going to give you season 1 for free, right, for $30 with the base game, of course. And then you have the deluxe edition for Rumble, which is $40. That's going to give you season 1 and 2 for free. But not only that, you have a bunch of different bonuses just for $10. So you could, with that assumption, you could think that maybe the battle pass is really going to be $5. They could probably follow the same exact pricing scheme as Crash on the Run. Crash on the Run's Bandy Pass was $5. So they could follow that theoretically, but we don't know because they don't even know. Even they themselves confirmed it, I think, directly. Toys for Bob did, where they want to build this game with the community. They don't even know what to do with the battle pass. It could be a free battle pass at this point. We don't know. But they even asked, like, hey... It was one of the questions in the survey. It was like, hey, would you want this in the battle pass? Earnable currency.
Yeah.
For instance, it's like, okay, number one, that kind of pseudo confirms that there will be a currency in the game, but they want to make it earnable through the battle pass, and it's like, that's a good system. That's a good system because no other game does that besides very, 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 very few free-to-play games. And the only paid game that does that is Dead by Daylight. Living 7 years in. It's a 1v4 multiplayer only game. Multiplayer, there's no story, nothing. It's a $30 game almost. I think it's $26 or $27. But like, it has a battle pass. It's multiplayer only. It's paid. It has a battle pass that you have to pay for. I think it's a $10 equivalent with the premium currency. And you can use that premium currency to buy the next battle pass infinitely. if you manage to finish it. It's like, okay, essentially, if you buy the base game for Rumble, if the battle pass is $5 or $10, you're either spending $35 or $40 if there is a premium currency in the game that can be earned through the battle pass. You can probably use that currency and buy the next battle pass infinitely. We don't know how long they're going to support this game. I highly doubt this game is going to last for 2 years, but if it does, that's a miracle. Anything to surpass Nitro Fuel's 9 months is a miracle. Yeah, so coming back to the list, I'll just skim. I'll skim through them. So after the whole current, it's not going to fit in the current competitive market because it's misguided, and the fact that the game has a price tag on it, I think that's a very dumb pointer to have. To a degree, yes, because free-to-play games, but at the same time, it's not bad because it could be good. The next point is he prefers if the game was not worked on fully and was only an idea or playtest that can be released for the public to try out to see if it sticks or not.
That just
he basically wants the game to go early access.
Yeah, no.
You have DayZ, which is still in early access. You have Ark, which is still in early access years later. You have what? I think PUBG was early access too. I could be completely wrong about this one. I don't think it was. Disney Speedstorm is still in early access. I don't think it has a release date yet. It's like you want an instead of a finished product that you want to pay for, you want an early access game that the developers want to give you for free, that they worked hard on, to not even charge you either. You want a free-to-play early access game. What game does that? You are not going to get a free-to-play early access game. I'm sorry. You're not. You will have to pay. And at the same time, it is so fucking hypocritical because he's defending a free-to-play game that requires a paywall to play. Disney Speedstorm, the same game he's defending. Because it's fun. And more power to him to think it's fun. I'm not attacking him personally. I just think his view on the game is complete BS.
No, this is what I don't want also to happen with Rumble at the same time is because and it all comes back down to how Crash fundamentally works as a franchise, like the fact that so many people still complain about stuff, and at this point it doesn't even matter what it is, as we can see
the funniest part. It's really ironic, like 3 times already with our discussion here. The very next pointer he mentions is that there's nothing bad about the game. There is nothing bad about the game. It's a weird game to talk about, but there is fundamentally nothing wrong with it. It's a very well-made game. It does not have the juice to fit with other amazing multiplayer games. And what are those other amazing multiplayer games? Oh, Call of Duty. If he was in the Call of Duty scene right now, every single fan out there, like 90% of COD fans right now, really hate what Call of Duty has become right now because every single focus now is on Warzone. Warzone is a Battle Royale game. Battle Royale is not Call of Duty. Call of Duty is an arcade shooter. It's originally an arcade shooter. It's not a Battle Royale game. And at the same time, they have a free-to-play mode. I think it's free-to-play, DMZ. It's like an extraction, Escape from Tarkov kind of game mode. So that's a free-to-play game mode that they're putting out as a 4th game mode with Modern Warfare 2. And guess what? They have pay to win in that game. Literally pay. You buy $20 or $30 skin bundles, and they give you pay to win elements. Straight up bonuses.
No, but yeah,
Call of Duty being $70 is giving pay to win elements in a free to play game.
I don't know. It's weird ground too for Crash to be walking as well. Well, I shouldn't say weird. I should say new ground.
Crash at the very least is like they're following trends, but they're keeping the core aspects.
No. Sure. But how we were saying too that like it's Twisted Bob's first multiplayer game that they're heading development on, and the fact that
exactly, yeah,
that this is completely, like we're saying, completely unique to Crash. This is where I don't want, like I was saying before, I don't want with how skewed stuff can get and viewpoints and critiques and shit, and the fact now too that Twisted Bob are actively trying with the survey and everything get our feedback. I really, with all the people that complain and do weird shit like this, like with this weird review, I really don't want. I don't want the feedback to be all over the place and be so barbaric to the point where like they are not getting the feedback that they are needing to make the game actually improve the game, and I don't want the game to kind of become a weird, almost clusterfuck of an experience because of the lack of proper feedback from people who actually know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I feel like I think you've seen this also. They put some beta details or beta information, post-beta stuff, stats.
Yeah.
About how I think there was like 90K matches played or whatever. I don't remember the exact metric, and 2 million Wumpa or some shit being collected. Like, for them to put that stat out from the 4 or 5 day beta alone, I think that they know that the beta, according to those statistics, did well enough for them because they didn't expect it to do well for a 4 or 5 day beta. I think that's actually good. Otherwise, they wouldn't post it.
Yeah.
And then some people, very few of them. Thankfully, with the whole skepticism thing, some people, I think I would say around 80% or 70% of people that were very skeptical of the game fell in love with the game. Yeah, they completely turned around. Even when there are people that were not even interested in it, they were like, "Oh yeah, okay, I was given a beta code. Oh, suddenly I have a pre-order on the game now."
Well, no, the cool thing too, I for as little as my stats matter, because I'm just some little dude on the internet, but like I ran a self-contained little poll as well on my Twitter, being like, "Hey, so everyone, especially, I even made a point to say, especially those who were skeptical of the game prior to the beta releasing, what are your thoughts now? Will you buy or will you skip this one?" And from the good, like maybe 30, 40 votes I got, 80% were like, "Yeah, no, I'm sold. This is good."
It's fun, yeah. You have a very basic concept. It's fun. It's interesting. People want to see more of this.
But that's what people need to understand. This was, a beta. It was also a demo. You're only getting 5 characters and 3 maps with 4 power-ups to choose from. That is not what the base game is going to be at all. Even with the shit that... Okay, also, to let you know, because I don't think we ever talked about this while we were actually playing the beta, all the shit that was getting upgraded and stuff locked behind... the upgrades and what we had to do, like keep playing and keep earning like XP and shit, that wasn't even in our build when we played at the Activision event. A lot of that shit was just there for us to be able to experiment with. So to see how that system's that was everyone's first glimpse at how the upgrading is going to work and how the unlocking is going to work. So that was something that was completely brand new to me and CG and everyone else who played at Activision. So it's very promising.
For example, I think I may give 1 or 2 examples here. There was one person, I can't remember their name, but they were completely skeptical on the game. Now they have a pre-order ready for the game. Another person, I think you might recognize it, Rapunzel.
Yeah, Rapunzel, yeah.
She did not, she did not even care for Rumble, even during the reveal. She did not even, anticipate the idea of a multiplayer Crash game. Tabriz, another friend, it's not the same one that I initially mentioned, it's a completely different person. Tabriz comes in, gives her a beta code, suddenly she really likes it, she thinks it's fun, and now she has a pre-order on the game. She did not even give a fuck about the game. Now she does. Because it's actually fun. She had first-hand experience with it, and now she likes it.
Yeah, I asked her too, yeah.
Coming back to the list. Yeah, I saw her tweets about it. It's like, oh, I'm not that interested in it, but, And then I saw her streaming it. It's like, okay, let's see how it is. And, she got a beta code from Tabriz, and it's like, okay, well, now she likes it. And then she makes a public tweet about it. It's like, okay, Rumble was more fun than I thought.
Yeah.
And then she was actually reconsidering her entire viewpoint, completely backtracking her initial non-care, stigma.
Now, of course, I also want to put this out there as well. What we're looking for, like in terms of us, like me as a fan, you probably as a fan and stuff, what we're looking for when we hear feedback like that from our friends and even other people that just follow us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter or whatever, like, we're not looking for you guys to completely do this 180, but we want to hear what your thoughts are, because that's important to us. That's important to Toys for Bob and Activision. So we're not expecting you to be like, okay, I love this game now, and it's amazing, but I want to hear, what you think,
I would not want someone to just put a fake smile because it has Crash on the title. No, be critical on the game, but at the same time, don't just assume that it's like the same as any other game. Yeah. It's the same with Crash 4. It's like, okay, we kind of knew what Crash 4 was. It's a classic Crash game. You have A to B level clearing action. we kind of knew what the game was, but we didn't know what it entailed with the new stuff.
Yeah.
But we still knew the basic concept. With Rumble, we didn't even know what the basic concept was. And
that
now
was,
we
that
do.
was yeah.
Even when they tried to explain it, even they didn't know. Even the devs didn't know.
Yeah.
So what really solidified this was either a full coverage by IGN or a big like outlet. Most, if not all, the outlets were completely sold on Rumble because even they were like being skeptical on whatever the hell Rumble was to them. So when they sat down and played it, it's like, okay, now it makes sense. And then coming to the beta, now it makes sense. You know, a lot of people turned their faces. It's like, okay, this is actually fun. We need more of this.
Yeah, that trickle effect was really, really, I think,
that
smart on their part, because it started with media and press strictly, then it was influencers and content creators, me, CG, everyone else, then the public.
Yeah. Then the public, yeah. So it's like like a level clearing thing for them too. It's like, because like they're setting goals for what they want to build as a multiplayer take on the franchise, and I'm glad that even they kind of, I think, in a video or somewhere, confirmed that I think it was the same interview with CGE where he was asking questions with the developers about how this is a first for the franchise, and it's not like the final nail in the coffin if this game fails for the franchise. It's like, no, this is not going to depict where the franchise goes. It's just a fun multiplayer idea that they want to make. In 3 years or so, we may see a Crash 5, because in 3 years, it's the 30th anniversary for the franchise. God, I'm old.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's going to be 2026. We legit have, I think 2025 is going to be an empty year, probably, because there's nothing in that year. Because, like, this year you have Spyro's 25th anniversary. 2024 is literally Year of the Dragon. 2025 might be an empty year, probably. And then 2026 is literally 30th anniversary of Crash. And it's like, okay, what can they do? What should they do? Is it going to be Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel 2? Is it Crash 5? Is it Rumble 2? I don't know. Who knows? Literally no one knows. And that's the exciting skepticism that I love to have. It's like, okay, what next? What can they do next? With Rumble, they're following the multiplayer battle pass trend, right? The only thing that they haven't followed in trend so far is an open world game. And I will get to that very momentarily. I'm like delaying the stupid list from that dumb review for a while now. So I'll just skim through it for real this time. So he says that there's nothing bad about the game. It's a weird game to talk about because there's fundamentally nothing wrong with it. My comment on that was like, why is the title clickbait then? It's like his title was basically "Do not buy Crash Team Rumble." It's like, but you're for like half of the video you're praising it. You're praising the developer. So I don't get the title. And then he goes on to say it's a very well-made game. It doesn't have the juice to fit with other amazing multiplayer games. We already talked about that. It doesn't have a place in the market. And then my comment on that between parentheses was like, because there's nothing like it in the market, that's how you make new video games that can fill a market. And I will say one thing about this person. He used to work as a game developer. I think he was either a writer or like game designer. He was one of those two. I don't know exactly which one it was that he was before. But he was in the game industry. He was a developer. And it's like, how are you able to make a new game? How are you able to fit something in the market? An example would be God of War or Sonic or Mario. There was no market for those games. You make it. You make it as a market. You create a market. You create these new games, these new takes, even if it takes inspiration or direct stuff from other games, whether it's single player or multiplayer. You make it. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a place. You make it. And then he goes on to say it's a fun game. And then after that, here it goes into the negative stuff, very negative stuff. He would rather play Call of Duty or Wreckfest, for example. You know the funny part? These two games are my initial understanding from his competitive games, like a comment was that, you know, actual games being competitive themselves, like, you know, facing harder opponents or harder AI or whatever. No, his actual point was competitive in the market. And it's like, okay, sure, but Call of Duty is not competitive. Call of Duty right now is fucking dog shit compared to other games like Apex. Battlefield is like, we know how the launch was with 2042, the latest game. But it got better over time. Other shooters, like Left 4 Dead, CSGO, now they're releasing Counter-Strike 2. They're Overwatch. What else? Apex, Fortnite. There is competition. Call of Duty is no longer the king of everything. I'm sorry. It's like, okay, you want to turn your brain off playing a shooter, but with a platformer multiplayer competitive game, even the game's entire marketing is it's a multiplayer competitive game. It's like, okay, it's not your cup of tea, yet you're telling people not to buy it. It's like, okay, grandma. And then he goes on to say, these are the final few points. And then he goes on to say that it's maybe for kids. I don't fucking know who it's for. I don't recommend it. That's literally his words. And my comment on that, to keep it simple, is that he literally just praised the game, but at the same time he's telling people not to buy it. It's like, what? And after that, he goes on to say that he was trying to get a refund from Sony and use the money for the early access to Disney Speedstorm. So my comment on that is that he's going to pay for an unfinished early access game rather than a game that is coming out in about 2 months. And, fair play. You can do what you want with your money, but isn't that contradicting? You ask for this game to be a free test because of the ideas themselves, then you praise the game for being fun and that there's nothing wrong with it, but then you go and play a literal early access game that will be free to play for $30. You are spending $30 on a free to play early access game. The irony in this like weird wording on his end, the irony is just absolutely unhinged. I'm really sorry. It's nothing personal at the end of the day. This is just my perception of his review, quote unquote. And coming to Disney Speedstorm, it's a very short comment from him. He finds Disney Speedstorm super fun, which is okay, it's more power to him. He finds whatever game he wants to have fun with. Anyone can say or do that. He wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come back to Rumble, and he doesn't know if Disney Speedstorm would stay as balanced as it is. I don't know what he means by balance. He didn't go into detail with it, but there's barely. The funny part is that the beta for Rumble is almost identical to the early access of Disney Speedstorm. You have a couple of tracks and a couple of characters to choose from, and the whole thing that's actually finished is the fucking store and the multitude of currencies. The irony of that is hilarious. That wasn't a comment. That was just me adding something just now because of the irony. And then he goes on, and I quote, to say I don't recommend it. It's a waste of money. He then says it's an amazing team. Cannot wait to see another proper Crash like Crash 4. And fair play to him. That's probably the only second good point that he made. Everyone wants another game like Crash 4. Well, not the exact same, but you don't want this. You don't want Crash 4.5, basically. Yeah. So another game by them, another big project by them, like Crash 5 or something, would be good to see. So that's a good point from him, at least. 2 points that are actually good from him so far, outside of praising the game and for some reason dissing the game at the same time, telling people not to buy it. It's I don't know. Okay. The final point, I'm going to read the full thing. This is the final one. There are massive games out there that run and look like dog shit, but the heart and magic is here.
Okay.
That's the comment. So from that you can take away that he doesn't think that there is any heart and soul and magic being put into Rumble. These are the same exact people that put their heart and soul and love for Crash 4. He doesn't think they're putting it on Rumble. My comment on that is pretty long. His comment was short. My comment on those words are very long. Well, it's 3 lines, so. This is my comment. So you're saying that there is no development, heart, magic, or love being put into this from the same developer that literally brought the heart, magic, and love-infested game that you just admired so much with Crash 4. Do you see how freaking stupid that just sounded? You're indirectly belittling the studio you just praised because they envision a multiplayer game for a single-player focused franchise, and you're going to shrug it off despite praising it and not finding anything wrong with it, while casually defending spending money on an early access free-to-play game. Again, you do what you want with your money, but stooping low to belittling developers is really freaking dumb coming from you. Toys for Bob are anything but, not heart, magic, and love heavy. This is their vision. When you trash one end but love the other, you're effectively trashing it all. It's one thing to be critical, but it's another thing to just, like, you know, you praise one thing but you're two-faced on another thing. It's like you think this is not infested with love and being put with heart, but at the same time you're dissing the other one for the reasons you just praised them for. It's like, okay. So, TLDR, when you trash one end but love the other, you're effectively trashing it all. If you knew how Crash is as an IP, you'd know the core of the franchise entirely exists within Rumble. Literally. We just talked about the core Crash fundamentals, you know, Wampa collecting, gem and relic hunting, and precision platforming. It doesn't have to be precision, but it's just platforming. If you knew how Crash is as an IP, you'd know the core of the franchise entirely exists within Rumble. Just because it's a multiplayer game doesn't warrant it to not involve the classic Crash Bandicoot gameplay and platforming we're all familiar with.
Well, tell me this. Does this person actually have a firm grasp on Crash as a franchise? Are they a fan of the series?
Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that they're probably a fan of Crash, and they really liked Crash 4.
Tell me this, are they a fan of Crash, or are they a fan of Crash 1, 2, and 3? Because that's what separates... That segregation
I genuinely don't know.
That segregation is still what pisses me off to this day. We were talking about it in the stream I did, not to date this, but I did, Road to Rumble. Crash 1, we were playing it, and it's really telling when... And that's one reason, too, why I love talking to you guys on this podcast series, because... you guys have different answers, and then you guys have different spots on where you first found the franchise, and what era of the franchise, I guess you could say, era, quote unquote, that you gravitate towards the most. And it's not always the original trilogy, and that's what's cool about it. But it's really telling when you find some person who just throws thoughts on a random or current game in the franchise, and how they talk about it, because...
Exactly. So, sorry to cut you off again. I'm cutting you off so much. I'm so sorry. But coming back to that person, they were involved in the video game industry for some time. They were actually a creator of a very big franchise that I will not name, just to keep their name, anonymous, out of respect for them. But a friend of mine that I mentioned way earlier that, mentioned them about me, where they mentioned me on a stream, on their own stream, where, they mentioned me as someone with a Crash profile is bitching and moaning and defending this game. It's like, what? So because I have a Crash profile picture, it means I'm defending the game? No. What the fuck are you talking about? And then that same friend that told me about that whole thing that he said on stream, he also mentioned that that same person that did the review does have very crappy history about his takes on stuff, whether it's political or like in the video game stuff or in the video game industry, like just very bizarre takes. And it's like, okay, I can see why he would see that from me. And then I think he closed off with like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, I wouldn't really reply back to his comment that he gave you. I would just ignore it because eventually, like in a few hours or so, in a few days, he just forgets that this thing ever happens. It's like, okay, I'm not going to give my reply to him anymore because I gave a very lengthy comment on his review. It's like, I didn't disrespect him or anything. I basically took what I had in these notes, in this notepad that I had written about the review.
Yeah.
I twisted it a bit to basically be formal and not full of swearing or anything. just to at least out of respect for him, and he corrected me about the whole competitive thing, because initially my assumption was how the game was competitive and was too hard for him to understand. It's like, and then he corrected me about how the game was, how can it be competitive for the market, not the fact that the game itself is a competitive or difficult game. It's like, okay, I can see where he's coming from. But even then, it's like, when you're creating a game, you're creating a market for that game. Super Mario didn't just exist out of nothing. There was no market. There was nothing. They had to make something new as a game developer.
Yeah.
So and it's the same thing with Crash, with the PlayStation 1 console back then. They wanted something like Sonic and Mario. What can they do? They had Willy the Wombat. They had Wuzzle the Wombat. They had I forgot the other one. I forgot. It wasn't Crash. Wes the Wombat, Wuzzle the Wombat, Willy the. I think those are the only three. And yeah, then they came up with Crash, and it's the very first proper 3D outing for Crash, before Sonic Adventure came in 1998. And that was a very big thing back then. Crash was born. An entire new market of 3D platformers was born. Yes, Sonic and Mario had those, but that was only in 2D. How do you make that into 3D? Here comes Crash. Crash literally created a market for 3D stuff, and everyone followed that as inspiration. Everyone followed him. You had you probably had racing games here and there that were 3D, but it wasn't high quality 3D. You didn't have stuff that was like so lush and vibrant and detailed at that time in 3D. If you wanted that, you only had it in 2D.
Yeah, I mean that just goes into the comparisons too of the fact that Mario 64 and Crash 1 came out the same year, just within a month and a half apart or so. And
yeah, so it's like there was no market for those games. So it's like, what do you do if you want to go into a market? You make your own market. And I think that's where Toys for Bob comes in. They don't know what this game is. Even they don't know what it is.
Because here's the thing. We're in this age now where a lot of ideas, I mean, not every idea has been done yet, of course, but so many more genres have been born, and so many more, subgenres and whatever else, and elements carry over through different genres, and so much has happened now, and so many types of games have been made at this point that even though it's Crash's first outing in this type of area, that's where Toys for Bob, I think, are thinking extra hard on not making a MOBA or not making a this or a that, and it's just another, how people are saying, it's just another this, it's just another that. That's why that particular critique or comment or whatever just makes no sense to me, because it's not just another one. It's something, and especially with the way Rumble actually is for what we've played. No, it's not just another this or a that or a PvP or a MOBA or whatever. No, it's a very unique type of game, and something like this doesn't just come out of nowhere. They had to think about how, especially when we saw the prototype stuff and all these other leaks and shit, and from what the game was supposed to be when it was originally going to be shown off around 2021 or so, I had heard, around from different people that it overwent a drastic change in how it was going to be.
Initially, this game was supposed to release in 2021. Yeah. That was what was said in the project timeline for Project Lava. It never came to be. Then you had the whole Call of Duty stuff and the pandemic. The game essentially had two big delays. But
how you were saying, too, and how Toys for Bob have kind of dipped their toes with other games and helping with Overwatch, helping with COD. So this being their first project that they're heading, that is of this type for what it's worth, now they've got a firmer grasp on what they want to do. So I think they just kind of reworked everything from whatever they had and from that leaked prototype stuff to what we just played. And I think they've refined it to such a degree where not only is it unique to not just Crash, but kind of to this sort of market in general, it's unique. You can't deny, even though you can make your comparisons like we've been to Rayman or to Splatoon or whatever, it's still not like those games. You can't say it's a ripoff of Splatoon's Salmon Run. You can't say it's a ripoff of Rayman Arena. You can't say it's a ripoff of Overwatch or of Bleeding Edge or of whatever, or Garden Warfare, Plants vs. Zombies or anything like that. It's not like that.
The funny part in that same Xbox stream that we discussed earlier, they actually compared the game to Power Stone.
Interesting. And see, that's an arena fighter, isn't it? I've been meaning to play that. Yeah. That's on Dreamcast, ain't it?
Yeah, it's an arena fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because again, games like that are also, that's a whole other spin-off of the traditional fighting game, and then you've got Smash Brothers, which is a platform fighter, and people were even thinking, well, is Rumble is Rumble League a platform fighter? And it's no, and even influencers like Jez had no idea how to. Yeah,
it could be that, yeah, but it doesn't. It's not just a fighter. If you have the term arena, you already know that you're going to fight in that arena.
I mean, people thought. Well, even before we really knew, and people were trying to figure out what to call it. People were thinking, well, is it a fighting game? Like a fighting game? No, and as it turns out, no. But I don't know, chalk it up to either people just not knowing how to describe it, or the fact that they just did not know how to find the words to describe it. Like, there's something of a difference, but like, it's just interesting to see how Rumble has kind of
you made a very good point just now. You just made a very good point. When it comes to MOBAs, guess what? MOBAs require you to fight. They require you to take stuff down. Like, and none of that is in the game. None of that is in Rumble. You just made a very good point.
Like as a mission thing, or as like a type of like.
No, like it's okay for a MOBA. It's a team versus thing kind of thing. Yeah, you have to fight the enemy team. You have 3 lanes or 4 or whatever MOBA that has more than 3 lanes. But essentially, what defines a MOBA is that you have 3 lanes, a jungle, a river, and 2 big objectives, and multiple different objectives. So you have buffs, you have towers, you have inhibitors, and the big key objective is to take down the enemy's big objective. And in order to do that, you have to take down the smaller objectives. What are the smaller objectives? The inhibitors. How do you take down the inhibitors? Oh, you have to take down the 3 towers in that lane respectively. How do you take down the 3 towers in that lane respectively?
Okay, so
you need items.
Yeah.
You need items to get stronger. How do you get stronger? By farming and killing the enemy. How do you kill the enemy? You have to fight.
Yeah. Rumble's
you don't platform. You don't platform. You could just like move your map. You have free camera control. You have a top-down side. You have a top-down side camera view. I think you know how MOBAs are with that. It's not third person. Smite's third person. It but doesn't do the same thing in that.
It's isometric, you mean, too. It's like fixed.
Yeah, isometric is what I meant. Yeah. So they have that isometric camera side view.
Yeah.
And like you have free camera. Turn it off or turn it on and click on one spot. Boom, you're just walking or running there. No platforming, nothing. You have a back to base button too. You can recall and go back to your base to spend your money or gold or currency or whatever for more items in your inventory. There's none of that exists in Rumble. So
yeah, it's really interesting. And too, a part of that as well that could be interesting for Rumble is just how big are the maps going to get, because what I heard that like it's
going to be more vertical.
Yeah, the Insanity Peak one's supposed to be like twice as big as Tiki Towers. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, all right, because Tiki Towers is already pretty vertical. And
what makes me sad is that some people, sorry to cut you off again. What makes I'll add this one final part about the MOBA side. What makes me like laugh so much is that even though I or you give all these comparisons to an actual MOBA, some people still come in and say, oh, but it's not your traditional MOBA. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter. You already have stuff that already define the genre. Oh, Pokemon Unite. It doesn't have this. It doesn't matter. You're in an arena. You have lanes. You're fighting. You don't have... I don't know about Pokemon Unite. You don't have map objectives. You don't have this. You don't have that. It's like, okay, it's a MOBA. It's not a traditional MOBA. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the core fundamentals of that franchise is in that game. It's not a MOBA. You have crash platforming. You have your typical stuff. The only different thing in Rumble is that you have 2 teams and you have an objective to do. And you have fighting. That's it. Or combat. The combat is literally Crash Universe-esque. Spinning, sliding, jumping, body slamming, shooting, I don't know, shoving the tuning fork up someone's ass, maybe.
I can't wait for that move. Yeah, you're right. But no, I'm just curious to see what else kind of is going to come at launch, and
I'd like an interaction. I like an interaction with Cortex where if he kills Entropy specifically, whether it's the male or female counterpart, he tries to pick the tuning fork for temporarily during the Entropy's for like 10 or 20 seconds. He picks up the tuning fork and tries to one-shot people up the ass.
Oh my god. But yeah, just like how big the maps are going to be and how expansive are they, because like there were some cool concepts from the prototype stuff and all that, so I don't know if they're going to try and retool that or whatever.
There are a lot of cool concepts, but the most important thing is balance with the maps. You don't want one team having the advantage over another. So the most important thing I think with a map is that you either have to be isometric, like they have to like be isometric on both sides for it to be fair on both teams. Or you can have both banks be isometric, but the map is completely different. Like
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
have
yeah.
like one side of the map be like both banks and both team spawning points, right?
Hmm.
And then the whole map is like completely different.
Okay, so check this out, right? I had me and my weird brain. I had a really interesting dream not too long ago, where I was playing the game, and this was way before I think even the beta happened, and I had this really weird like vision of this particular map. It was completely original that my brain made up for my dream. But like it starts off with everything in the center and you're just trying to kind of, you can probably see your banks like way up top on these little like symmetrical cliff sides. But then like what you had to do was like activate something to open up a little like temple area on either side. So there's like an inside area you can go through. So there's everything in the center, outside, in the middle of the map. But to actually kind of easier get to like an easier way to get to your bank, but it requires some traveling. Unless you have the verticality to actually get up there, you had to like open these doors that have more arena, more map for you to actually kind of go and. It was really weird. I'm not sure if that kind of a concept. I'd have to like draw that out so you could see it, but like I don't know if that would work for like a Rumble map.
That would be interesting because it reminds me of a certain Call of Duty map, or I think it was a few Call of Duty maps, unironically. I don't think you've played it. I don't. It's map hazards, by the way. I don't think you've played Advanced Warfare, have you?
No. I've only played one COD game ever, and that was the original Modern Warfare 2.
Ah, okay. So in Advanced Warfare, with the whole jetpack era of Call of Duty, there was a map that I vividly remember where. Yeah,
that's how little I know about COD.
So double jumping basically with your average Call of Duty gameplay and shooting.
Okay.
And like strafing on the sides with the jetpack. It was really useful. You with dolphin diving initially with Call of Duty, you have sliding, so you can slide with the jetpack, but that's besides the point. So there was one Call of Duty map that I can remember from the top of my head from Advanced Warfare specifically in multiplayer. There is a COD map where it's located on the edges of a broken facility near the oceans. And near that facility, it's built so well that it's able to withstand tsunamis. The facility is broken down. I think it's broken down, but no. The facility is like prone to tsunamis. So it's a map event where after a specific point in time in the map, I think twice or three times in a match, there is going to be a tsunami alarm coming in. And so you have one section of the map having like doors being locked down. So you know how the lab has those shutting doors? Mm-hmm. So it has that basically, but it's like a massive gate basically. So players have like around 20 seconds or 30 seconds to escape to that other side part of the map to avoid the tsunami.
Yeah.
It's either that or there are like certain pillars on the main side of the map where players can stand on to avoid the tsunami, because the tsunami instantly kills you. There was no swimming at that time in Call of Duty. It wasn't until the next game with Black Ops 3 that Treyarch introduced swimming with their own jetpack game. So in Advanced Warfare, the tsunami comes in, you have around 20 or 30 seconds to go to the other side of the map before you actually die, killing your streak essentially, because you know how kill streaks work. It's the same thing with Modern Warfare 2 originally. If you die, your streak resets. So it's the same thing here. You either go to the other side of the map and survive, or you get killed by the tsunami, or you get trapped by the door. So I think that would be a really good idea in Rumble, where you can have a map where like you have an actual hazard in the map. It could be a tsunami, it could be lava rising or something.
That prototype footage had it. It was the nitro waves.
Yeah, and nitro waves too. Yeah, like you have to avoid a map specific thing. Yeah. You either avoid it during the gameplay itself in the main map, or you can
trigger it.
You either trigger it, or it's like a map hazard kind of thing where you have to escape to a certain part of the map, or you have to levitate. You have to go and climb something to avoid it. Yeah, I think that would be really good to have.
Yeah,
it would just add to the platforming of the game.
Yeah, it was a really interesting dream that I had. I thought that it would be pretty cool. I don't know how the fuck my brain fabricated that, but the only other thing I wanted to mention too about characters real quick I didn't get to mention before was I think too with how they were handling it with the survey and everything and adding in the characters. How we already talked about it, but the one thing I wanted to mention was I think what they're going to be doing, what I can foresee them doing, is playing it again smart. What I'm really hoping with the game in general, with the final game for Rumble, is that they play everything smart. As we've been talking about with the Battle Pass and everything else, and the unlockables, currency, whatever else, microtransactions. But with the character selection in general, since that's going to be one of the biggest things people are going to be very like hyped for. It's going to be a lot like Smash Brothers in that sense, but I hope it's treated like Smash Brothers in a way where it's not just the novelty of how many characters, like with Nitrofield, how many characters can we stuff into the game, but more so since now you have to put them in these very specific classes because it's not like Nitrofield where who you play as. I was saying before, I still like to stick to it, the fact, because I know you rebutted against it, but like I still think that to a degree, especially with their abilities and stuff, who you play as can matter. But I think too, when it comes to selecting characters,
it can. I didn't exactly rebuttal against it. Come on,
you disagreed, okay, and I was hearing you out.
I can actually agree with you to a certain extent, where like you can do that stuff, but it's not gonna help you win the game faster, because if you don't do if you don't do your role to help you win the game faster, it's just gonna allow the enemy team to win the game faster because they are actually playing their roles.
No, I know, yeah. But I'm saying too, like in terms of, because what I was saying about that was about the abilities and stuff. Who you're picking for yourself matters.
Should matter, yeah.
But that's what I meant, yeah. So likewise. With Toys for Bob choosing who else is going to be appearing in the game and who they're going to reveal and show off, that can be very Smash-like in the sense of not the novelty of how many characters can we stuff in and just start dropping it into these classes, but who's going to make for some interesting gameplay? How would Willy Wonka Cheeks play? How would Engine play? How would the Trophy Girls play or whatever? I think it's a matter of picking and choosing based off of the reception and the feedback from the survey and from whatever else, but like them also like pondering, okay, so how can we make this character interesting and how can we make it fun?
They're just gonna do a fighter pass the way they did with Smash Bros.
Oh god. Put a ballot up. Well, that's pretty much what this was. Vote for your character. Yeah. Tell us who you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's what they want. This is how many characters are going to come to the game.
Except for Smash Brothers, it was like the worst possible idea they could have ever had. It was that fucking battle pass. Or the battle pass. That character ballot. That fighter ballot. That was...
Fighter pass, yeah.
No, but the fighter's pass was whatever.
Steve from Minecraft. Ooh.
No. The fighter's pass was whatever. The idea of introducing a fighter's ballot and you telling us who you want to see, that was the worst idea they ever had, because you get this... there was no, like, cap on it. There was no nothing. You could put SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Optimus Prime, Shrek, and they would let you submit it. And it was a whole thing. That's not Crash, though.
What do you mean? Shrek can't fit in Crash. He's just going to drop an outhouse on you.
No.
Every time instead of a piano, it's an outhouse. What are you doing in Miss Swamp?
Yeah. But
funny part, that can be a run it by you map.
Oh god. But no, oh my god, you just reminded me. Yeah, I forgot that.
Every time you die, and that run it by you map specifically, each time you die, you're forced to watch the Dingo Dog commercial for his restaurant.
No, but I forgot that was the thing actually that they asked on the survey. Oh, hey, because after that screen of pick your characters from the series, they were like, all right, now what other characters in or out of the Crash universe would you like to see in this game? I was like, oh,
Shrek.
Here we go.
Shrek.
Oh, no. Oh, shit. I forgot they did essentially ask a fighter ballot question like that. I forgot about that. Because I was stupid, and I just answered because Crash isn't like that to me. It's going to be really weird. I just see Spyro. I put Spyro. I'm going to be transparent about it. I was dumb and bland and boring, and I put Spyro, yeah. So, like...
I put Spyro, KO, Sonic, Ty.
Yeah, like, I don't...
Those are the only, like, realistic four that you could expect.
If Abdul, in 2024, if I see... like, February 2024, if I fucking see a trailer...
Sonic?
And Sonic runs past Crash, I am going to vomit.
Why?
I will not stop vomiting out of the sheer surprise of what am I looking at right now? How is this happening? Like
Sonic and Crash game.
It's so weird.
The sad part is that they actually had a chance for that with Nitro Fuel, but they had their own game with Team Sonic Racing. So, I mean, it can work. It can work. Really, I think Activision's a lot bigger than Sega. I could be wrong though. No, they are. It's a multi-billion-dollar company.
But I'm not even looking at that. I'm looking at what the fuck would he do in the game? So like,
I don't know. Shove rings up your ass.
You'd have to nerf the fuck out of him because he can't be running around the map like at 500 miles an hour.
Obviously not. But like, well, they probably would not have him run around the map super fast. No, there's no way.
Well, because also for that matter, because I'm thinking like, okay, for all these guest characters, whatever. I know the the KO Twitter has been really adamant on walking up to Activision, playing on the boombox outside the fucking studio. But like,
KO can work, Ty can work, Spyro can definitely work because you have freaking Catbad with his diving ability.
No. Well, because that was the thing too. At first, I was all like, yeah, how the fuck even would Spyro work? But of course, there's a way to do it. It's just that
flight. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say it's just that Crash has never really crossed over with anyone else that's out there besides Spyro. Like, I mean, you've got your ads and whatever where he's in like at the It's Time to Play ad or whatever, but like in his games, especially in his games. Because he didn't make it into Smash
Let me just get Nathan Drake and Captain Price from Call of Duty into Crash Team Rumble.
Yeah, like it's I don't know. That was a really bold question to ask, and I wonder if they're actually going to follow up through it. The only thing I can see coming from it is Spyro, and Spyro isn't for anyone even remotely thinking. Well, Spyro's kind of an outlandish guys. The two are sibling franchises. They've always been referenced and crossed over into each other's games. This is nothing new. So Spyro's, I'm feeling, is going to get in. I mean, that wing icon was Spyro's wing.
It is Spyro, yeah.
So he's in. It's just a matter of when they're going to show him off. And everyone's saying Season 2 because that's going to be around late 2023. Yeah. So if that happens, then cool. But in terms of Ty or KO or Banjo, I'm like, well, yeah, it'd be cool to see these guys side by side because it would be very Smash-esque. But
Banjo's unlikely.
Sure, but I'm just like, well, I don't know. People have been saying it, but I'm like, I don't know if as a Crash fan, and I mean, okay, to put this into perspective, this is how I got when Akuma was announced for Tekken 7. I was like, of all the fighting game franchises that have their crossover character, or rather their guest characters from other franchises, Mortal Kombat does it. Soul Calibur does it. Street Fighter, I think, does it. Tekken's never done it. Tekken only did it once, and that was an obscure-ass character. It was Gon, the little orange dragon. That was back in Tekken 3. It was the PS1 days. That was very uncommon, and that was the only time they ever did a crossover. So to see Akuma in a Tekken game, and he actually has to do with the plot, I was like, this is weird. I don't know if I fully gel with this. It's going to take me some time, especially because I grew up with Tekken's one of those series alongside Crash and Spyro and others that I grew up with as a very small child. So to see Tekken kind of do that, I was like, this is a little weird. It's kind of foreign. It's a little strange to me because they've never done it before. Crash only ever crossed over with Spyro. So to see these other characters, point being, these other characters, if they do come in, it's going to be really jarring for me for a while. I'm going to have to get used to it if they do follow through on that survey question. It's going to be really strange to me. But
it's gonna be weird with Ty specifically because at the beginning of the match you're just gonna see flying boomerangs everywhere. That's gonna be really funny.
And again, how do you and it's like Smash Brothers, how do you not just put these guest characters into a Crash Bandicoot game? How do you make their platforming style fit Crash's platforming style?
Exactly.
And not make it busted.
How are you gonna make it? Yeah.
How are you gonna?
I think they would just limit it basically because you see exactly how the racing games did it. You have Sonic and Shadow and Amy that can run for miles super fast in any car, but you have competition to be fair, and that's what they did with Team Sonic Racing. Everyone's in a cart.
Well, yeah.
Just to make the competition fair. I don't think you've played Team Sonic Racing, have you?
No.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah,
I saw
everyone's
footage,
in a car.
I saw footage of Shadow touch another racer and go flying backward, and I'm like, my money's not going towards that. Anyway.
Well,
No,
yeah,
but
so it can work if it's a competition kind of thing where you limit the characters based on what the game is.
well, sure. I mean, they did that for like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. They did it for Smash Brothers. I mean, I know how they would do it.
Those are examples too. Yeah.
Now, in terms of a competitive like this type of sense, what game Rumble is? That's what I'm wondering. Like, well, how would tie work? How would KO work? And there's something to be explored there, I guess. But again, the novelty, the sheer novelty of the fact that it's going to be a really weird crossover with Crash and these other platformer characters, it's going to be odd. It's going to be just no matter how you slice it. Spyro, no, because they've done it. They do it all the time. But
are you gonna be weirded out when Rayman comes in?
I'm going to be weirded out when Rayman comes into Mario plus Rabbids. Because if they have a scene, even just a scene or a shot of Rayman and Mario together in the same scene and they're both 3D, I'm gonna fucking like vomit. I'm gonna vomit. And I don't mean that to say a bad thing. I mean, it's gonna be like what I'm seeing is gonna surprise me so much that I don't know how I'm gonna react. Like that's what I mean by that.
Funny part, when Rumble was revealed, I was actually watching CGE's stream during that reveal, and I was in the car alone during that time. I was just waiting on my brother to finish up whatever he had on his military side. I was just there chilling until he finished in the morning, and I was like, just watching his stream. I screamed my lungs out. I was like, yes, finally, it's about time.
No, that was the previous game. I'm just playing.
I know.
But, no, seriously, yeah, no. So we were streaming the Game Awards, and we were just like, okay, we're here. We're expecting Crash. We're off the pizza box. We're expecting, they said they were going to show off some Mario movie, and we might see... Well, no, they confirmed we were going to see Tekken 8. So I'm like, all right, those are the three things we're looking for, and we're going to do our reactions to those. You'll get them live if you're watching the stream, and we've got our... on-camera reaction videos that we were going to do after. That's what we usually do. We got all three, and I'm like, fucking awesome. And it was so funny because the Crash Twitter was slowly starting to do their teases, and they were like, hey, we're outside the fucking Game Awards, and then Paul Yan's all putting emojis and shit and retweeting things. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's happening. It's just, it's confirmed right there it's happening. And it was like an hour before the actual reveal happened in the ceremony, and then when it happened, we were like, oh my god, fucking finally, yes. Holy shit. The hype will never leave, I think. It doesn't matter what you show me. I think how you were saying, because you worded it in a very specific way, and I forget what the word prior to what you said was, but you said there was a type of skepticism that is still kind of going to linger in the air when Rumble actually comes out. And when reveals like that happen, for me, I am, and I've always been extremely optimistic when it comes to Crash. So, like I'm saying, at this point, it doesn't matter what you show me. If it's going to be fun and the characters look and animate and play amazingly, I'm going to have a good time. I honestly don't really... You can make a fucking first-person shooter, and I'll play it. I am very optimistic as to what the future is for Crash, and how we were saying the 30th fucking anniversary. Number one, yeah, it's very sad, and I can already see the wrinkles appearing on my body, but, like, yeah, I want to see what else they're going to do. I know in my Crash 1 Road to Rumble stream, I was saying, like, yeah, an entire, like, Breath of the Wild-esque open-world Crash game, I don't know if that can, like... I mean, it can work. I just don't know what they would do with that. I feel that's more Spyro's territory because he's already a little more open than Crash. But, like, whatever else they... And even how you said in this podcast episode. But what else they could do with Crash is, at this point, since now we're going PvP and we're doing shit that Crash has never done before, it's interesting. I'm not saying they should start, like... Okay, next platformer, I don't know, but here's an arena fighter, here's a fighting game, here's a platform fighter, here's an FPS, like, not
basically
that. Basically
venturing to other genres, yeah. Completely unrelated genres to the franchise.
Yeah, probably don't do that, but, like, definitely experiment more. Like, how they're doing right now, I'm perfectly fine with what they're doing. Like, Rumble is fine as it is. It's really, really fun.
You know what they should do for Rumble? A GTA season. There, I can't find it. I was trying to Google search it for the past minute, but someone made a Grand Prix mock-up of just GTA stuff all around.
Oh my god! Hey, just made GTA but Crash.
I think you get Carl in the nitro gauge.
Yeah, but I don't have any other questions. We're just riffing, like I'm saying. But I guess if I had to make up a question right now, I would just, I guess, say.
You could just ask me the same questions that you've asked others before, for Rumble.
Well, I mean, not that I remember what I asked Dave in the last episode, but
nice.
I get and
what's my take on a Crash 5? Haha.
No, not even that. I mean, Bad to Rumble. I mean, like, is there anything I guess you feel that how'd you feel the balancing, I guess, was how we were playing? Because I know that there's Cortex's piano and yada yada, but
I think for some reason Cortex is just unbalanced. I don't get why people say Dingo's unbalanced. He's really slow. You could just stun lock him down, and he can't do anything.
It's really funny.
Like, yeah, he's fat. He's very big. His spin knocks you off. Sure, that's his entire playstyle. But like, you know, his entire playstyle is just to knock you off and block you off, hence the name blocker. But you can, if you just manage to stun lock him with a body slam or with Tana's uppercut, like anything to stun him down, you can just easily kill him.
That makes
he's not that big of a problem for me. Every time I played Tana in the beta, I was even with the lag that I matched because you were hosting.
Yeah.
Like, even with the lag and stuttering, I was still able to deal and handle Dingo as Tana.
That's what's going to make...
And the best thing about the beta, I'd say, is the online experience. For a beta, it's very, very, like, polished.
It was strong for sure, yeah.
I have not seen a beta like this, like, especially an online beta, go this smoothly. Like, yeah, you have some minor problems, you know, some disconnects. The stutters are like inconvenient, but it's manageable, and you're still able to play in platform and do your stuff basically.
Yeah, like I've seen people like teleport off like platforms and shit when they're on gym pads. But I mean, again, it's just this is a rough like, kind of cut of the game right now. So like it's testing the servers, it's testing the connectivity. So it's not going to be like 100% perfect. If it were, that'd be pretty incredible. But of course, it's not going to be. But for how it performed while we were playing and how we were streaming and everything, because you did your stream, Dave did a bunch of streams, I did one stream for like 3 or 4 hours. It was solid.
Yeah, it was really solid. Like, when it comes to balance, I didn't really have much of an issue. I just think Cortex is broken. Like, he's able to do 4 dashes in midair. Like, you jump once, you do his double dash, and then you double jump with him, and then it resets your double dash. It's like, what the fuck is this stupid agility? It's complete nonsense. And at the same time, he can spam his piano. His piano knocks you off. He can knock you off with his own dash with his stupid big head. He can turn you into an animal, like basically disarming you and disabling you. Like, he does a lot of shit for a fucking booster.
People were saying Coco was busted.
Coco doesn't have this. No, Coco just moves fast. That's it. She has her wall, and she has her body slam, and she has her ability. Yeah. I forgot the name of it. Her swirl ability.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, I think in terms of Coco, because I was maining her and you were maining her for a while too. Or you were one of your mains was her. It was her and Tana, right? For you?
Yeah, her and Tana, yeah.
Because for me it was Coco and Crash, and
actually I like Dingo more. So I just have fun with them, just fucking with people.
No, my brother, Victor, freaking he got it pretty good with Dingo after a while, but with Coco, I think Toys for Bob pretty much kind of nailed her as a character, because even in the racing games, she's always been about agility and about motion and movement.
Yeah, she was all acceleration, basically, ability, motion, and they nailed it. She can spam that crap.
I think spamming like and see, here's the thing, she doesn't spam the wall repeatedly. You put it up once, and then
you put it up once,
you recall it,
and then
and you can put, because I noticed a little thing like come up to me. When I would do it a second, I'd do the little like spin thing like a second time.
Yeah, you can do it without even jumping. Like you just do it, and it speeds you up, and it speeds your allies up. I think that's good. Cortex doesn't have any of that. Cortex is just more of a blocker to me than a freaking booster.
No, Dave and them were saying, and Cortex's Aussie pal, they were saying, yeah, Cortex is almost like a blocker in disguise. Disguise
like,
parading as a booster.
He could just sit back and drop pianos infinitely.
And it's because too of how you can place them, and you almost ping them in a way the same way you would do the guardian or the healing station or something. So doing that with the piano, yeah, no other character has that. So, and the fact too that they found out that there was a way you could spam a second piano somehow, like you have to finagle it somehow, and you could do like another piano right after the first one. And it's just crazy.
That ability needs a cooldown, honestly. Like it needs like a 5 or 10 second cooldown. It just should not be spammed, especially if it deals half of your health almost.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like there was a point where I was on the gem platforms on Tiki Towers, I think, where I was like half health and the motherfucker just killed me instantly with the piano.
Yeah.
I don't know. The beta was solid. I'd give it a 7. Like, it's not the full game. I'm not gonna like score it as the final game. For a beta, I give it a 7, 7.5. You know, it's really hard for me to score stuff, but like if it's a 5, then it would be an okay game, but at the same time it has a lot of problems that need for it to deal with, to address basically. But no, I give it a 7. It's a well done beta. It's not the full game. For a beta, I give it a 7, and the online is really solid. There's not much to do in the beta. I didn't care to grind the battle pass or any leveling, right? Because it doesn't carry over, so I didn't care.
It was funny though,
but
because they found a way.
The whole thing was there. Yeah, you just like grind against AI and competitive infinitely.
Yeah, if you're able to get lucky with that, that's what I did.
Yeah, so if you get a 4-man lobby, it's really hard to go against in matchmaking because what can the other team do?
Yeah, doing the with the matchmaking, that's something I think they're gonna fix as well. Matching you up, I was saying, whatever level you're at, like 2 up, maybe 3 up, 3 below is where they should have you. If you're going
at the
competitive
same
by
time,
yourself something.
At the same time, if it's by yourself, maybe. But they're incentivizing playing with friends a lot, so I feel like if they do that, then even with MMR, not the level system, even with the MMR system that they're touting to be in the game, to, balance lobbies and whatever, it would be fine to have, but you don't need to prioritize that all the time. Because otherwise you're not going to get into matches. You're just going to deal with AI most of the time. If you're a high level, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very interesting and it's all very like new for them. So to see how
that entire level ranking system to match you against other people of similar skill or ranks, just leave that for an actual rank mode or something, not online, not public lobbies. If they want to do that, but a game of this scale, I can understand why, because they're not gonna expect it to go competitive or esports or whatever. It's not Crash is not that kind of franchise. Like, even as a Crash fan, a big Crash dude myself, I can say that, Crash is not a big franchise in that regard. It's never going to be your next Call of Duty. It's never going to be your next Overwatch, Fortnite, Fall Guys, Apex. It doesn't need to be. It just does its own thing. That's it. It can take whatever other genre it can do, but it spins it into its own thing. The next Crash game may as well be Crash 5 with an open world like Sonic Frontiers or Spyro. Sonic Frontiers, the main marketing selling point is the open zone that they kept touting. It's very well done. It has some stuff that are a bit weird, but hey, for a finished product, it's actually very well made. The whole marketing thing was the open zone, but at the same time, you do have traditional Sonic stages, A to B level clearing action stages. You can still have that in an open world Crash game. But the problem is we've never had a Crash game where you have an open area with classic stuff. Like actual true open game with classic stuff. Besides maybe Twin Insanity was like a linear open game too. Like you had a set path to go. You couldn't go and do whatever you want. No, you had a set path, a set story to go. You didn't have anything to do in the open areas other than simple puzzles to get a gem. The gem didn't give you anything. It didn't reward you into the story. Nothing.
Well, too, because yeah, the thing I think the challenge they'll have to overcome with that, if that's the route that they go with the next platformer, is
Like, if you want
how
a
we were.
collectathon open world, just follow Sonic Frontiers or Spyro.
Well, like how we were saying too, with how much you do take from other genres or other like-minded games, I wouldn't want them to kind of, I would want them to kind of do that, but still spin it in a very Crash way. How would Crash do open world? Not, I want a Crash open world game, not an open world game that happens to be Crash.
That happens. Yeah, exactly. That happens to be Crash. Like, you take what's already there with Crash. Even if you introduce new locations, new islands, new dimensions, whatever, spin those into a Crash setting. Don't just put Crash stuff into that world or island or whatever. Like, my dream is personally just going through the already available, like, established Crash lore as an open game. Yeah. I would want to go into the Crash Islands, to Insanity Island, to Twin Sanity Island, going through dimensions as an open Crash game. Just exploring stuff. I could go to the Space Islands in a trance as an open game. Maybe I could find stages there and play those there. It could be a callback to Entrance, literally anything. That could be a 3D remake of Entrance on its own, a hidden 3D remake. Who knows?
God. There, guys, you can get your Crash Bash remake or Twin Sanity remake. There you go. Like retro classic levels or some shit that you can't like find or unlock, like different levels where they just
exactly, but like remade into this game setting, not Bash because it's a party game. You would want stage clearing levels, basically.
You don't want a platformer with mini games in them. The market says
it's almost like Rumble has, relic stations that you can fight for. Gem platforms that you can fight for that give you bonuses. That's weird. Oh, what's that? You're supposed to platform and fight your way up there. Oh, wait, isn't that what every fucking party game does? It's weird when it comes to the market. But no, from the beta, there wasn't much to the beta. For me, there's probably a whole lot for CGE and you, because CGE streamed it for like 5 days in a row. Oh, I'm streaming it for 8 hours. Streams it for 12 hours. Almost 12 hours. And yeah, he grinded the living crap out of the game. And as well as a lot of other people. Whether you abuse the whole AI thing or not. But for a beta, it was very minimalistic.
Well, because
at the same time you had other people judge the game. It's like they didn't even read the beta message, because the beta message confirms that there will be more modes, characters, powers, you name it. The beta is just a taste of it. It's like, it's clear in the name. It's a beta.
The cool thing, well, see, what I did was I played with many different groups, because it was all of us that were in my stream, and we brought a lot of people from the community, and then it was you and Jerry and all them. And then I played with Miharu and Victor. It was a 3v whatever else, and we had a bot on our side, but we still kicked some ass here and there.
Jerry just wants to refund the game because of that conundrum.
But I'm glad that he also had a fun time too. Like, he did his one video where it was him doing the tutorial and then him properly getting into the game with us. Like, it was the best way for him to be able to do it versus trying to play by himself, competitive. I think what we did when you and him streamed simultaneously on the second to last day of the beta, I think that was like the best thing for him to do, to get into it. And that's
he liked it though. He liked it.
He did.
He just hated being fucked by Cortex.
Yeah, but I think how we were saying back to how people were skeptical and then coming in and then playing it and going like, oh, okay, I get it now, and it is fun. Where that is to the thing that they're pushing with this one is the multiplayer in here. Rather, playing it with your friends is going to be pushed harder than ever, because it was a feature that you could take advantage of, that people were wanting for a remake of CTR. So when they did it in Nitro Field and you had online multiplayer, it was a way, because they introduced the weekend bonus for the Wumpa coins and stuff, and it was a way to grind for coins to unlock shit, but you still had fun with your friends. But you could also go online with strangers, or you could get some coins off of all the single player offline content. But for Rumble, that is the pushing point, is that you're going to want to play with friends. They're pushing that it's the reverse of what they did with Nitro Field, because with Nitro Field, it's here's all the offline single player shit, and then you just happen to be able to also have all these characters to play with your friends and stuff online, versus here where it's like, as of this podcast episode, we don't know if there's going to be a story mode or how many offline single player stuff there may be, because what they're pushing right now is online stuff. But we're gonna have to just wait and see what they announce or what they tease or what they full on reveal or whatever the case is, or just add afterward.
Another thing when it comes to the game, being online only and having a price tag. A lot of people are saying that this should have either been DLC to Crash 4 or a free-to-play game. Well, now, I have two things to say about this. If it was DLC to Crash 4, then you're gonna have another party complain, "Oh my God, I didn't buy Crash 4. I have to buy Crash 4 and pay $60 just to play Rumble," and then you're gonna have that party complain. And now you have the free-to-play side. It's like, okay, even if it goes free-to-play, all the stuff that you're gonna expect to be free are not gonna be free anymore. You're gonna have every single modern gaming monetization practice in the book. Look at what Disney Speedstorm is doing. Look at what Apex has a fucking $200 axe. An axe, a cosmetic axe. You have to pay, I think, $10 or something, or $20 or $30 to have the privilege to purchase it. I think there's another game. I don't know if it was Star Citizen or if it was another game, but you had to pay something like to have everything in the game. Okay, you had to pay $1,000 US, United States American fucking dollars, 1,000 of your dollaroonies to have the privilege to buy everything in the game. You want to know how much that is? $27,000 in microtransactions, in owning every single ship and cosmetic and whatever in the game. $28,000 because you had the initial $1,000 just to have the privilege to buy all of this stuff. People want that. That's a free-to-play game. You ask for it, you ask and you shall receive. You want something, in return they're going to do something a lot worse. Look at what happened to Call of Duty right now. You have skin bundles and camo bundles that are almost the price of the game. In Call of Duty, in Vanguard specifically, and even now, I don't know what their whole addiction is to bundles. Ever since the loot box dilemma in the video game industry, shit has gone downhill for Call of Duty in particular when it comes to skin bundles. You have $20 skin bundles, $30 skin bundles. Oh, what's that? Call of Duty Vanguard? $40 skin bundles. Vanguard was $60. It's 2/3 of the fucking game. And the camos and the skins you get don't even cover up everything. What did you get back in Black Ops 2? $2. One camo, $2 covers up every single weapon in the game. $2. One camo. I think there was 10 or 20 of those. You could probably spend $20 or $30 on the camos that you really, really like in Black Ops 2. It covers up every single weapon. Now you spend 20 or 30 for cheap change. Masked behind, oh, it's a value. You get this, it's a value. Oh, don't miss out. It's gone if you miss it. Well, why should I fucking miss it? You didn't carry anything from the previous COD games. You didn't even carry anything from the original Warzone into Warzone 2. So every single skin that people bought in the original Warzone don't carry it over. Yet you have Overwatch 2 casually carrying everything from the first game. Every skin, every character you owned and purchased and bought and earned, everything from the first Overwatch, they carried it to Overwatch 2. Fall Guys going free to play, they carried it. Fortnite carried it. What other game did they carry? If it was a multiplayer game, going to a new iteration. Any multiplayer iteration, they carried it from the previous game. Why is Call of Duty the only one not carrying it over? Oh, it's a free-to-play game. Whatever you bought sucks for you. You gotta buy it again for the third, fourth, fifth time. It's just dumb. People want a free-to-play game. You will get a free-to-play game. Don't expect a lot of bullshittery. Exactly like the same person that praised Disney Speedstorm with over 5 different fucking currencies that you have to earn. It is so dumb. Because at the same time, look at what happened recently with free-to-play games. That couldn't even last a year. Rumbleverse, Knockout City, just to name a few. all got shut down within a year. They didn't even live past a year. Apex Legends Mobile didn't even last a year. Why? Because they weren't making enough money. They shut down within a year. Crash on the Run, free-to-play mobile game, right? We were promised this and that, overhaul. The overhaul's coming, hiatus, 14-month, lockdown of no information, nothing. They basically just abandoned the game for 14 months with the hope that they left for fans and people, thinking that they would come back overhauling the game. New features. This game might be a new take on Crash on the Run. Who knows? It might still have that same basic, core gameplay with 3 lanes and whatnot. Has an auto crash runner. But it might have new features, new gameplay. They promised and confirmed that there would be animal riding and boulder chasing and maybe perspective shifts, going to 2D. Who knows? We didn't know anything. In the end, we didn't get anything. We didn't even get any transfer. Madame Amberley that were in the files. And and they at the same time they came back in the same fucking year to confirm that the game was shutting down in February. 3 months ago.
Yeah, the funny thing is I don't even remember
this is what people want. This is what people want. The funny part? Bobby Kotick. I don't think it was him, but it was in some of the investor calls when it comes to Crash on the Run. They promised that the game would last for 2 years. The game lasted for just less than 2 years. Yeah. It got released in March 2021. It shut down in February 2023. Shy of 2 years by a single month. They didn't see the money coming. It's a free-to-play mobile game. They shut it down. They didn't get any money. Now you have other free-to-play games right now, as of recent months, shutting down. Why? Same thing, whether it's mobile or console. Why? Because no money. Simple as that. If an online multiplayer, if a game that has single player or just specifically online, if it's a paid game, guess what? That game is able to stay up. It is able to stay up because it's a paid game. When you buy the product, you're already funding it already for it to stay up because it's a purchasable product. A prime example is Dead by Daylight, as I mentioned earlier, way earlier in this. It's a paid game. It has everything that you want in a multiplayer game. Battle passes, online only. It's very unique because it's a horror style kind of multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of crossovers, being what it is, with Silent Hill and a lot of other franchises. I think it also had a Friday the 13th crossover. I think it also had a Resident Evil crossover. I could be completely wrong.
I think it did.
It has all these massive crossovers. But at the same time, it has your battle pass, and it focuses only on multiplayer. There's no story mode. $27 or $26, whatever it is. It's either 26, 27, or 30. Doesn't matter. The important thing is that it has a price tag. That price tag funds the game. It keeps the game up permanently, or however long that they might consider it. Until the platform itself shuts down, like how PlayStation 3 and Vita were almost shutting down. Until Sony saw the backlash and they kept the PS3 up, but now the Vita's down. And the PSP's down. And look at Nintendo. All digital stuff. Completely shut down. The online infrastructure of the 3DS, Wii U, all shut down. For a multiplayer, obviously, Mark, for a multiplayer game, nothing's going to last forever. Eventually, even Fortnite's not going to be big anymore eventually. Yeah. Because you're always going to have completely brand new stuff that the generation is simply going to lean over into. Battle royales are not forever. MOBAs didn't even most of them, like popular MOBAs, were just mods of other games. League of Legends was just a Dota mod. It was just a Dota mod. Counter-Strike was a Half-Life mod.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I would rather this game be a paid experience starting, just to avoid it shutting down. If it stays as a paid title with a price tag, sure, fine. the most important part is that it stays up. Look at Nitro Fueled. Look at all previous Call of Duty, even the PS3 era Call of Duty games. They're still up. Obviously, you know, the consoles being as old as they were, you know, they have modders. It's very easy to jailbreak them. You can easily have modders and hackers on those, but, you know, the important thing is they're up.
Yeah.
You have the TOS, you know, terms of service and the end user license agreements where Activision states, this is every company, you know, with an online infrastructure, they have the power and right to take away the functionality without notice and whatever, you know, that's just a legal thing that they have to put in, you know. But look at Call of Duty, it's still up. Every single paid title, it's still up. Nitro Fueled, 4 years later. Next month's June, it's still up.
Yeah.
It's 4 years in, it's still up. So, I would rather this game be, or start as a paid game. If it goes free to play, sure. I mean, the issue is with that going free to play, it's in a way, sure, you could have a wider market eventually if the game goes big enough with its own price tag. But like, if you want the game to grow or you're not having enough to grow, sure, it could go free to play. But at the same time, you have to weigh your pros and cons. How are you going to earn that money now? You're going to go and follow the egregious modern gaming stuff at that point. You're not going to have earnable characters anymore. You're going to have paid characters or tied to the battle pass like Overwatch. It does the exact same thing. It has its new characters tied to the battle pass. The free side of the battle pass, not the paid stuff, thankfully.
I think what's also going to determine Rumble's longevity and everything in the end too, and for how long it goes and how it's going to do like those types of practices, is also the fact that it's still at the forefront trying to capture the core. It's still core Crash elements that they're using to capture the core Crash audience. But again, how it ties back to what we were saying before about how egregious and how sometimes absurd these like complaints they're going to get, and how things are, and how we've even seen as far back as Ensign, as far back as other stuff even before the hiatus, like, it's all going to end up... There is this domino effect, there's this trickle effect where, like, if the core Crash audience stops playing, like, or if they start to kind of, like, doubt the game because of these inclusions or these handlings of these types of elements and stuff, like, how's the general audience who doesn't really know Crash too much and maybe played Insane, maybe played Crash 4, but this speaks to them more so, this type of game, so they want to play this one. But if we're, you know, not gelling anymore with it, how's the general audience and the multiplayer, online multiplayer audience gonna
exactly,
handle
like,
it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I was trying to say. It's easy to follow what's hot, and the current hotness with this generation is multiplayer games.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you have your outliers like God of War, Last of Us, I don't know, Sonic, what else? I don't know.
Sure, but everything you just named right now is either AAA or it's first party, or it's tied to
Mario,
or the spearhead of that company, and Crash is not the spearhead of Activision.
Yeah, but at the same time, it kind of is, because I feel like Crash to them is like their second child after Call of Duty.
I mean, at this point, because of how Insane and everything else is done.
Because in Activision, remember that I said Activision, not Activision Blizzard King, not ABK. No, Activision specifically, because you only have Call of Duty is like the bread and butter in all of ABK, and WoW. Following that is World of Warcraft. Following that is Overwatch, and following that is Diablo. I think Diablo and Crash are probably around the same level. I could be wrong, but maybe.
Well, especially too when you look at their earnings stuff and listen to their conference calls and everything.
Exactly. At the same time with Diablo, it's a long running franchise. You know, it didn't stop or have a hiatus. With Crash, you had a hiatus. You had nothing. Yeah. You know, you're essentially reviving an entire franchise from the 90s and modernizing it into a new era of gamers and generations. Yeah. And just going with the flow on what can work, at the same time keeping it to the franchise's core. Yeah, exactly. So it being multiplayer, I feel like that they're just following trends, and that's fine. You can follow the trends, but don't let that franchise become that trend. always keep on changing, because at the end of the day, that's what Crash is. Ever since CTR, in 19, ever since Crash Team Racing with Naughty Dog, it just kept changing. Every iteration kept changing. Whether that was the developers themselves or Universal, we don't know. All we know is that development was very, very crappy with practically every single PS2 game at that point. Even Crash Team Racing, unironically, because they had to build that game with no air conditioning.
But
that was a nightmare.
But everything's an experiment, and that's the thing too. Everything with Crash.
That's the thing. If you play it too safe, what the hell are you gonna build? How is the franchise gonna stay?
Well, welcome to the videos that I've made.
What's the point?
Yeah. Welcome to the videos I've made on that stuff. Like,
everything is a risk. If you don't take a risk, how are you going to succeed? If you don't take a risk, you won't succeed. You're just going to rely on something that will eventually stagnate.
Now look at it and saying, how much do you listen to the fan base, and also too, because we talked about this. Who did I just talk about this with recently? It might have been Miharu or somebody else, or maybe it was Dave, where the way VV tried to handle Insane and trying to take that feedback into consideration, because this is the era, Naughty Dog's trilogy is the era everyone tends to attach to. So when you're remaking that for the modern day, how much do you change? What can you change? How are the characters going to be portrayed? And it's things like that sound very right-brained and but those are the things that the core audience attaches to, and that's where a lot of critiques lie, a lot of viewpoints lie.
And that's the thing. The most important part, you first have to see what your fans can like and what they can't like.
Yeah.
And the very first thing, the last thing I think anyone would expect is a multiplayer Crash game. It's like, okay, for a single player focused franchise, how or why do I want this as a fan? Of course, that's a challenge the developers have to tackle. That's completely normal game development.
Sure. Well, sure, yeah. I'm sure that's what they had to think. I'm sure that's what Radical thought of when they did Titans and Wonder Mutant, because Crash never did that before.
Never did that before. At the same time, they were following trends at that time. Beat 'em ups.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Even Sonic did it with Unleashed.
Exactly. But what I like that the developers of Crash now are doing, and how Crash is still getting hot potatoed. It hasn't stopped, but it's now within this core circle, and that's the difference. So even though Vivi's gone now, but between Vivi, Beanox, and Toys for Bob, Crash has been hot potatoed. But what they've learned to do is embrace what came before, not segregate and push away what came before. That's what the fans were doing. The fans were like, we don't like Titans, we don't like Bash, or we don't like this and that, but Nitrofield, starting with Nitrofield, they started to embrace that. On the Run took that baton and ran with it, and Crash 4 in spurts, because it was a more contained adventure, ran with that. And Rumble has the potential to do that too, but in a different way, because it's a different type of game, and it's one that Crash never did before. So that's where I think, as a fan, how you're saying, I, for one, watching this fucking franchise grow since I was 2 years old, and I'm going to be 28 this year, I am like, okay, so you know what? I am into this, because not only was it fun to play for the 2 sessions I had with this beta, being, the Activision event and with all my friends, but I see what they're trying to do. I see how they're going about trying to do it. We don't have the full picture yet, but it's the beta. What do you expect? I understand, though, now what to expect from this. I think the hardest part, again, about what Toys for Bob were trying to go through with selling this to us, the selling point, was what the game was. But now that we know what the game is, and more people are into it now, and more people understand now, I'm not saying, oh, we're out of the clear, or we're in the clear where there's no problems now. I mean, there's the launch still, and how these implementations that we've been talking about for the past 2.5 hours are going to be. But, that's a future problem. We're going to get there when we get there. But I think the point of these Rumble podcasts now is to be like, yeah, well, now I'm just trying to gauge what you think or what so-and-so thinks. The other guests I'm going to have later. Now that we've actually played the beta, it's like, okay, now we've got a clear idea of what's happening here and how to move forward. And I think that there's a lot of potential for Rumble. I don't know. I can't speak about the longevity of Rumble, but we talked about what could possibly determine the longevity. Hopefully, it has a very, very strong lifespan. I can't see it going beyond maybe 5 years or so, but who knows? We'll see.
If it even, again, I mentioned this earlier.
2
If
years.
it goes beyond 1 year,
1 year, yeah.
Yeah, if it goes over, and I think it will go over 1 year, because I think they might be planning 6 seasons at best, like
Plus,
as a beginning
yeah.
kind of thing, and the seasons are going to last 3 months each. So if you have 18 months there, so that's a year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm only following from Nitro Fueled because apparently, rumor wise, Nitro Fueled was only supposed to have 6 Grand Prix, and the last 2 were just an extra that Beanox did for the fans. And the last update, the whole Beanox update pack, that was kind of, you could consider a 9th Grand Prix in a way, because it introduced the dev time trials also, and actually fixed the whole thing with the random invisible crashing that you get after every boost pad or edge.
Oh yeah.
They fixed that in the final update too, thank God. Because it was a nightmare doing ring rallies at the time. So, yeah, I mean, what can you do when it comes to some fans? You know what, Mark? You're not a real Crash fan. You're
fake
just
fan.
a hater. You're just an insane fake Crash lover.
Insane.
You're not a fan of the true article. You're not a fan of true Crash.
Yeah, I only played.
Yeah, you're not a fan of True
2.
Crash. You should only play Crash 1, 2, and 3 and bitch about Insane Trilogy and how they ruined Crash and how it's not low polygon. Nitro Fueled Crash 4, no Crash Team Rumble. Fuck Division. I think you know who I'm impersonating.
What you have to do is you have to hate Insane before it comes out. Still hate
I have to hate Insane before it comes out. I have to love your fan game. I have to endorse it to Microsoft. I have to...
No. You have to... Jesus. You have to hate Insane before it comes out.
I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, by the way.
Hate Insane when it comes out. Then start to kind of grow on it, have it grow on you a little bit. Then Crash 4 comes out and you go, oh no, Insane was always shit. This looks way better.
And then you have Crash 4 that apparently divided the fan base. It's like, you dumb fuck. It was divided from the start.
It was divided after fucking CTR.
It was divided, exactly. It was divided after CTR. Not everyone liked Bash. Not everyone liked Wrath of Cortex. Certainly Wrath of Cortex, it was divided. Because
so check this out. So I think it's so funny that we tend to not really rope Bash in with everything else. This will be the last thing we talk about before we leave, because it's been a long podcast.
Dude, but, I dislike Bash, but at the same time, I love it. I love the game. But I hate the repetitive nature of it.
No, but here's the thing.
It's like, okay, here's the thing with Bash, before you say anything. Here's the thing with Bash. You have 3 rounds with the trophies, 1 round for the gem and crystal each, that's 5 rounds. 5 other rounds with the relics, with the gold and platinum relic, and that's if you actually win twice or 3 times in a row. If you win once, guess what? If you lose twice, if you lose on the second round, guess what? You have to redo the first round again. Platinum relic, same thing. If you win the first and second round and you lose on the third one, guess what? You start from 0. You have to win the first and second round. That's only 10 plus rounds minimum. And the trophy itself, you have to win 3 times you have to win 3 times, right? Not in a row, 3 times. So if all the other AI wins twice, guess what? That's 9 rounds minimum.
Oh my God. 9
rounds. So you're looking at least like 15, 17 plus rounds minimum.
So
in a level alone.
Is that how 200, like what? Okay, so what is 200%? Because I always hear about it. I have no idea what the fuck it entails. I used to think that was like a glitch thing.
Every single 200% is all 28 collectibles of trophies, gems, crystals, relics, gold relic, and platinum relic.
Oh wow. Okay.
And you can't unlock. You only unlock the gold relics once you enter the 4th warp room. And the 5th warp room is a bunch of secret medieval levels. Some of them are like completely new, like mini games. You have the mushroom one, you have the swamp fox one, you have the dragon drop ones, you have the cake kaboom. You have the mallet mash one. Okay, all these are like medieval, like new game modes, like unique game modes.
Yeah.
Okay, unique mini games. Some of them require you to get a certain amount of crystals. Some of them require you to get an amount of relics. The final level requires you to get all trophies. All 27 trophies to unlock it. Dante's Dash.
I see. Okay.
For that, you need 27 trophies. To get 27 trophies, you have to also finish all the other levels besides that level in the secret warp room also. In the 5th warp room. So it's like, for 200%, You need to get, and here's the funniest part about the relics is that the AI goes only for you, and the gem and the crystal challenges you play with a freaking handicap.
Oh wow! See,
And that handicap the handicap in the crystal challenge, if you're playing in 2-player mode, in co-op mode, in adventure, it doubles for both of you naturally because you're 2 players, right? And for the gem handicap, it combines you both. So if you're, let's say, you know how Crash Ball is, right? Your handicap is everyone has 15 points for their goal. You have 9, right?
Yeah.
In co-op mode, you have 18 combined. It's a combined goal. So it doesn't matter. If one of you gets 18, both of you die. Ballism, not engine. Well, it has engine, but ballism. Handicap, the gem handicap is you have 15 points, everyone else has the same one in 20, right? The AI is slightly more difficult, but it's not as difficult as the crystal one or the relic one. So in co-op you have 30 combined between both of you. So, and the opponents have 40. So if one of you gets 30 balls in their goal, both of you die. Same thing in the pogo stages. You have a combined point system in the gem, and even in the trophies as well. You score, and you have to finish the goal or finish at the top, right? And the gems, of course, you have to deduct your points because it's a gem challenge in the pogo stages. That's just the gist of the gem challenges. Mm-hmm. So you deduce your points, and you have a set threshold. Your opponent has less, you have more. It's just so funny. And it's like, it's not all bad, but by the way, the same point system also applies to other point systems, like in the Mallet Mash mushroom minigame. And what else? The racing ones. I think the only ones that are actually balanced in co-op are the other racing ones, because like it's not a combined total point system. One of you just has to win. If one of you wins, both of you win. That's Bash, and don't even get me started on the AI for Bash in the relic challenges. You take more damage, and the AI only focuses you.
That's hilarious.
And in the polar stages, they all have a stronger polar push. You have a weaker one. So, you know how in the relic, I think you've seen this a few times also, in the relic challenges, you have different opponents because those are quote unquote arena champions or some shit. In the polar stages, you're very likely to get Coco against you. Coco's a bitch in the polar stages. She is like a monster in those freaking polar stages.
It's hilarious.
And for 200%, you have to get 28 of each collectible. If you pick one good character and one evil character in co-op, you have an extra mini game mode. Like it's like the Bash stages. You're in a little crate arena. You have to fight each other. You basically fight your own teammate.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I do remember something about that. But outside of the game too, though, I think as well. Going right back real quick to what we were saying before as well.
About multiplayer.
Well, no, about like the reception of everything and how things have been hot potatoed. How it started with Bash, but it's funny how we don't really rope Bash in because it was very inoffensive. I mean, it's offensive in how you've just described how the percentages and everything in game is, but in regards to the rest of the series, it kind of is its own standalone thing that is very inoffensive at its core. But like, I think Universal was, and I said this too in one of my videos with Crash. I think it was the problem with modern. I want to say it was the problem with modern Crash video, but at one point I talked about how I kind of pointed the finger at Universal for being the first one to kind of foster this idea of what Crash and Spyro could and couldn't be, which the fans have now kind of taken that baton and ran with up till this day. And you get complaints like the weird review for Rumble and shit. And so, like, I'm not really understanding how we got here to this point with those kinds of complaints and kind of critiques, especially for something that's a beta. It's not even the full game yet. We don't know what the full experience is going to be like until it comes in June. But
Basically.
all the complaints,
literally next month.
all of everything from Twinsanity and how it kind of branched out a little bit and did some different stuff, and it changed the tone of the series from here on out, to Titans Men of Mutant for their drastically different gameplay, which isn't even that drastically different. It just introduced beat 'em up stuff, to the revival and everything. There's always been these complainers and these people going back to the original trilogy and back to this and that, back to the original CTR, and it just kind of, I think, is interesting to me how, like, that's kind of what Universal did. Universal was like, hey, Traveler's Tales, make Crash this project, which is going to be Wrath of Cortex, like Crash 3. These are the games that made the money. This is the formula. This is what you need to do. And they didn't really allow Crash to kind of, and for Spyro, the same thing goes with Spyro, to kind of evolve past that. So when developers like Oxford tried with Twinsanity to do it, it was kind of mixed, and that just depends on other elements of the fact that the game was a little bit rushed and it was unfinished, and it went through some development hell with everything that they wanted to do originally and things like that. But
when it comes to a rushed game, word of mouth spreads really quickly, whether by your friends or critics. Mm-hmm. It spread quite a bit with critics because, unfortunately, even today, most people follow critics on what they say or do, reviews and whatnot. They follow that.
Yeah.
More, and the user score also suggests a lot of things, especially today. The user score, and for example, Metacritic is really important because you could have critics could put and give an 80 to Call of Duty, but in reality, the users and actual people playing the game, they're gonna give it what it is. It's a 3 or 2, and it's gonna be in the red zone. Basically suggesting, hey, don't play this, don't buy it, stay away from it, don't listen to critics. But at the same time, you have critics that do match with player feedback and user scores, like Insane Trilogy, like Nitro Fuel, like Crash 4. All of these match because people liked it. Word of mouth spreads. People follow these big people. Critics, influencers, you name it, these stuff matter. And back then, it wasn't as prominent, but
yeah,
with Twinsanity, I think it reached to a point where, like, there was enough critics and reviews that, it did affect the game a bit, and not just its own development. Even Wrath of Cortex was supposed to be its own different game.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't even meant to be a Crash 3 clone. The Crash 3 clone came in when they had to basically scrap everything.
Yeah.
And make something new in just 10 months or something, which is, on its own, it's impressive, because they made Crash 3 in 9 months. So.
But the fact, too, that and it's developers that never worked on a Crash game before. Naughty Dog
on its own really impressive.
Naughty Dog was able to kind of do those how many ever odd months per game because they already knew it's their own shit. It's their own engine, their own formula, their own assets. They already know what they're doing. That's why Crash 1 was so experimental. It was the first thing that they ever did with like this. But 2 and 3 came out the way they did because they learned from 1 and they started to tweak, refine, do. And for as much as the series after Naughty Dog came out the way it did, what we've got right now is a chance to kind of go back to a Naughty Dog-esque type of work environment, hopefully. That's a whole fucking can of worms in and of itself. But like I said, hot potatoing within the same circle. So they're going to have all these assets. They're going to have the formula down. They're going to have... And they've got, unlike Naughty Dog, who made the series, they've got Toys for Bob and Beanox and them have the rest of the series to get inspired by, to reference, to fall back on. They've got influence,
get inspired by, but at the same time not, they got inspired by everything, but at the same time not make that the clear, like, main concept.
Yeah.
Because the important thing about Crash, right, even with Rumble, like, you have to first focus on the fundamentals of Crash before anything, including genre introductions.
Yeah.
Because if you don't focus on that, then everything else you do is just going to crumble.
Yeah.
Unironically, Crash Team Rumble.
Yeah.
But much. You have to first focus on the Crash fundamentals, because if you're not focusing on the Crash fundamentals, people are not going to receive well on your game or product or whatever, because you don't have those fundamentals that people came in for to begin with. It doesn't matter even if you have a traditional Crash game. You have to have the fundamentals first. You have to learn them, nail them down before you even make a game. It's how video game development is. You have a gray area. You have a testing level, a testing ground. testing abilities, testing how a level could work, how it can work, how it may work, testing all of that first before you actually even make the game.
Yeah.
And that's it, because Wrath of Cortex, as much as it still had the Crash fundamentals, but that came from a developer that never developed a Crash game. They were doing something else. They were doing planetary travel for Crash Bandicoot Worlds, which was the original title for Wrath of Cortex before it got switched. And then coming to Twinsanity, that wasn't even Twinsanity. Again, it involved planetary travel. Like, it wasn't even called that. It was called Crash Bandicoot Evolution. It involved like something in akin to Spyro, where you had a little buddy that you meet along your journey that would help you in your adventure, which would tie to the Evil Twins. And then they had to basically scrap all of that because Universal did not want to make something similar to Ratchet and Clank.
But
or Jack and Daxter, because those games are now occupying this. Oh shit, we shouldn't make this. And it's kind of ironic because now you have Crash 4 doing the whole dimensional multi-space travel, and then you have Rift Apart literally following it up like 7 months later.
Even the same aesthetic for dimension traveling, the purpley shattered glass effect.
Shattered glass, dimension travel. I personally,
alternate cells and stuff, yeah.
Exactly, that too. As little as I've played Rift Apart, I still think that game did it better.
Rift Apart's very fun.
It is fun, but I'm saying is that it did the whole dimension hopping thing kind of better in every way.
Yeah. Well, if you mean fundamentally as well,
fundamentally, because you had more involvement with the other dimensional counterparts as opposed to just, here's a little cutscene, a little gameplay. hey, you're back, but you're not from
that's also what you get when you are making a
I could kind
game
of see
versus a linear game with levels.
I could kind of that too. Yeah, I don't know about open world. I don't think Rift Apart was open world.
It wasn't open world, but it was way more. It was wider, and it had. I mean, you selected planets, but it wasn't. It's not like Crash. Crash has that.
It's not like Crash. It's still traditional. It's still followed traditional Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, so. With Crash, I'm not saying it based on the setting itself. I'm saying like based on what the games themselves did. When it comes to the story and theming, because both of them are like similar. But you could kind of excuse Crash because they were still trying to fend off of time travel a bit because of Warped. So it's a bit of a mix. Like, is it time travel? Is it dimension hopping? We don't know. It's a different year, but it's a different dimension. It's a good dimension. It's a bad dimension. You're going back in time now. It's like, who knows?
Twister Bob, elaborate. Set some rules for how this shit works.
Yeah, I mean, they probably already have their own rules. Before we started this, I was watching Crash fan game, Crash Bandicoot Infinite. If you happen to know that.
I only heard of it recently.
In Infinite, it was like that perspective shift a bit with the whole thing in 2D, and it was using Spyro music to a degree. It had an open hub world and whatnot in 2D, and it had certain powers and whatnot. It's very new still. Like, the demo came out yesterday.
That's interesting.
So, I think Back in Time, Crash Bandicoot Back in Time, and Shrush Bandicoot. So those are known. Now,
I heard of Back in Time
as fan games. Back in Time's really familiar. It's like very positively, well received so far. But outside of those two, Crash fan games lately have been super creative. Unlike the garbage that is Retro Hijinks, I'll be honest. Crash Bandicoot Infinite, it's so creative that it has hints. It has a very unique art style too. Shocking for a 2D Crash game having a unique art style. It has a very pixely-like art style. And each colored gem. I was watching this from Aramu's side. So as a final bit to this all, it had colored gems, and the red gem involved, I think, doing a set of patterns that are in the background, and it's basically just a bunch of Crash statues doing a certain action. So he's either spinning, jumping, or body slamming, or crouching. So you do that in a sequence, and it's the same thing in the bonus round. or in the death route. There are death routes in the game too. You do all of those, then you reach the end of the level, and once you pass the ghost crate thing that rewards you the gem, you pass that, and when if you do all those sequences, you get the gem. And then finally, there's an orange gem in the game too.
Oh, nice.
The orange gem is very smart. The way to get it is you have to break every single question mark box in the level, including the bonus round. And it's like the blue gem property, but for the orange gem and only the question mark crates.
That's kind of cool. That's interesting.
So and the funniest part is that there's a secret hint at the start of the level. In the back, way back, like hidden behind a tree, it's like there's a massive crate that has a question mark on it. That's the hint. I just found that like really smart and funny. The game's inspired by Crash too, so these 3 games are really good to look forward to as Crash fan games. Crash Bandicoot Infinite, Back in Time, and Trush Bandicoot.
Yeah.
But other than that, Rumble. I'm excited for Rumble. I'm excited to see what they might do with a battle pass. I'm skeptical still about how the game might do. But I'm still excited for it. This is not at the end of the day, this is not going to be the next Fortnite or Apex or Call of Duty, but it's doing its own thing. And yeah, I want to play it with friends. I want to play it with my partner. I want to play it with just about everyone. I want to see what they can do, what characters they might do. I want to see what kind of art styles what because the Crash community hasn't had enough of that in Crash 4, so we're gonna have to complain about that in Rumble as well. How is Crunch going to look like in this game? How is Nina going to look like in this game? Yeah, in the Crash 4 palette. How is Chicken Stew going to look like? How is fucking Entrance going to look like?
It's gonna be really interesting. No, that I am excited to see that though. I do. I think again that's part of the novelty. So where the more technical, serious part of it is okay. Like I said before, what characters can make for a really interesting Rumble playstyle from this insane, crazy cast of Crash characters. The fun part is gonna be okay. Well, which characters can we pick, and how are we gonna kind of redesign them slightly? After we last saw them with Ensane's kind of art style in Nitro Field, but Crash 4ified here. It's gonna be really. I mean,
they might do what they did with Spyro, and they put an Unreal game into an Alchemy game. So they might do the same thing where they put the Alchemy stuff into Unreal.
Oh God!
It's just a seamless port basically. But yeah, I think the only things that won't change are crossovers. So if they do something with Spyro, it's gonna be what he is in Reignited. If KO comes in, KO's done in Unreal, like the KO reboot, he's done in Unreal, so they could just port him in directly. So with like licensing permissions and whatnot, of course. Sonic might be the same thing, I don't. It would be a Sega mandate. They'd want the same stuff, and yeah. Outside of that, I think Crash universe characters, they may have different styles, but they might keep their normal essence, like how Nina keeps hers in the Crash 4 100% ending.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Captain Price to come in. That's for sure. From Call of Duty. God. What about Kazuya?
That's a lot, man. It's always nice talking to you about the technical side of stuff and hearing out everything that you've been saying. My thing is gonna run out. That's
in the end, everything so far with the Crash franchise is out of passion. I'll forever love this franchise. Some fans, I hope they change their minds with Rumble, and I hope they give Toys for Bob a chance. And what or how they could do Crash 5, or how they could make Rumble grow beyond just one game, that's a one and done, and then they move to the next thing. Obviously the game's not gonna last forever, so just have to wait and see what they can do with this game as well as hypothetical Crash 5, because at the end of the day they follow trends. Current trends are, as we mentioned, multiplayer online games with battle passes, and now it's open world games. So yeah, Crash 5, just replace the S with a 5. Crash Frontiers.
Crash 5.
Yeah, Crash 5.
But yeah, man. There's just it's. I'm optimistic. I personally am optimistic about it. So I'm really excited to see where it goes, and really just wait. Now that the beta's over and done, and a lot of people have played it, and all the skeptical people are now starting to warm up to it. Let's just stop right there. Let's not get too crazy over, okay, we'll bump this or bump this.
No matter what you say, no matter what I say, no matter what Keningaye freaking says, it doesn't matter. You know, that's just the reality of fan bases. You're always going to have those certain amounts of people that will always complain about everything a game does.
Again, welcome to Crash.
Welcome to Crash. Welcome to Spyro. Welcome to Call of Duty. Well, Call of Duty is a bit of like, you know, it's justified because they're trying to make something that's not Call of Duty, so it's kind of what they did with Sonic in a way too. Like they tried to make something that's not Sonic, being kid friendly and whatnot, but Sonic was not really that.
So before we head out, again, even though you've been on before, but you've got some new stuff, I'm sure. Plug yourself. What you got going on? What are you doing right now?
I'm Abdul. My channel's dead. I'm kidding, by the way. I still do my music uploads whenever Rumble comes out. I did it for the beta. Bandicast helped me a bit with the gem boost ones, so I had to basically do that on my own. It's a bit annoying doing it with the AI, but it was worth it. I mostly stream nowadays because it's just really hard to go to video editing and whatnot. I guess what I could do is follow your example as well as CG's example and just do this like coverage kind of videos as well as what Wumpa Lewis does. And it's still a new thing that I'm trying to do with my channel. I think my discussion videos I've done, it's been a month already, so time flies, really. I've gotten older, you've gotten older, everyone's gotten older.
We're getting old. That's the takeaway from this 3-hour-long episode.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like we're getting older at the 30. Same time. Trying new stuff doesn't hurt. I've been wanting to do Spyro, Tai, Sly. I've never played a Sly game. Ratchet & Clank, Klonoa.
Start with the first one.
What?
Start with Sly 1.
Start with Sly 1.
People are gonna really say that Sly 2 and 3 are amazing, but from my experience watching Miharu play like 3, they do some interesting things with the gameplay, and it's weird. But you do you in the end. But my suggestion would be go in order.
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna go in order.
Well, I mean, because you wouldn't have to.
I'm not gonna do the Vicarious Visions way where they tell me to play Crash 2, then 3, then 1. Insane.
That wasn't even Vivi. That was Shuhei. Shuhei said that.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Oh, wow, interesting. I thought it was Vicarious Visions.
No.
That's interesting. I remember the article saying like...
I was a little shocked when he said that.
Like, just deal with it because this is a different feeling of the original games or whatever. That's what Vivi said. Just deal with it. Go
You've
fuck
never
yourself.
played Crash 1? Fucking too bad.
Yeah, too bad. Go fuck yourself.
That's hilarious. I like it.
They'd said it in the nicest way possible, though.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, just looking forward to Rumble. I mean, not much on my channel. I'm still around. I'm mostly on Twitter. If anyone wants to join the Crash and Spyro fan club Discord server, you're more than welcome to hop in on that. All you gotta do for that is go to my channel, go into any video of mine. You'll see the invite link in the description. Cool. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and join the Discord server. And yeah, that's me.
Sounds good. As always, it was awesome talking to you.
You want me to plug my life also? My life's boring.
We could go for another 3 hours, not really, but then
I mean, my life's pretty simple. Not much going on. I have a job. Right now, I'm like on a 2-week break because I'm doing my own certain thing personally for the next 2 weeks, so that's kind of also that going on for me. My life is really not much. I usually just eat, sit on my computer, and sleep. I don't go out much. I'm like an introvert, but I'm like an open introvert.
Welcome to us.
Welcome to us. Welcome to life. How do life? I need tutorial.
Tutorial for life. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Mark.
And I'm Abby.
and we'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.
Bye.